what up for the third time or whatnot. Happy Wednesday, man. How you doing, Coop?
I'm good, man.
Good,
Hey,
good, man. Want to welcome everybody
all
to
right.
A2HH Live. Mike D and Coop. We're gonna be talking about a lot today. We got a lot of music to cover. What were you gonna say?
I got good news for you.
What's that?
So I'm sitting up late with my cousin, 6.
Right.
He literally has me out in his parking lot until 1:30 in the morning last night.
Mm-hmm.
So there are a bunch of stories that I could tell you. But the main story that you're going to love, because keep in mind, we keep having the big silver boombox conversation that was sitting in the room on the east side in Lithonia that all the hip hop music came from his older brother, Vici.
Mm-hmm.
But we get to the Tribe album, the first Tribe album. And I'm like, who had the tape? He was like, I had the tape. And he told me two things. The first part is he's like, what you're doing right now at the podcast, he was like, I knew you were going to end up doing this. He was like, even when you were a kid, he's like, you don't remember you used to take that album and pull it out and start reading all the notes for every album I ever bought. He's like, that's all you ever did. He said, you just pull all the stuff out.
You have a
He,
gift for analyzing
he
records,
was like,
period.
he was like, you were analyzing the stuff even before you knew what it was. You wanted to know who wrote what, who did what. He was like, even then, you were always that way. The second thing, and this is the part you're gonna love, him and the homies used to ride on their bikes, and they used to literally start beatboxing the beats off of People's Instinctive, and whatever they would start beatboxing, everybody literally would start singing the songs word for word. I was like, which song? He was like, every song.
Yeah. That was
I
a
was
moment, man. I mean, I wish I was there in the scene when it dropped and how it dropped. But even going back listening to People's Instinctive, it's like they came from a whole different place. Like that whole Pharrell, I want to say vibe that's going on that directly comes from what Q-Tip did on that first album.
No,
Now,
Mike, you're right. You're right. And I was like, I got to give it up because Cuz was like, yeah, he was like, he was like, bro, his older brother Vici, he's like, yeah, he was playing Slick Rick and Quick is the name.
mm,
And so,
DeCarlo with a comment I want to address, and I think this goes right into what we were going to talk about. He says, Mike, well, y'all going to discuss that top 10 most important hip hop albums? Because I don't think Southern Playalistic is top 10 in 2022. Okay, I wrote an article maybe about a year or so ago about Southern Playalistic, it being one of the 10 most important hip hop albums ever, right? We can discuss that 10 list. But I do want to take a minute to talk about Southern Playalistic. First of all, do you think it is one of the 10 most important hip hop albums all time? Or is that a stretch?
no, I don't think it's a stretch. If you think there's a difference between importance and influential, it's definitely one of the 10 most influential. If
Okay.
it's not 10 most important, I kind of tie a lot of those things together when it comes to stuff like that.
Important, I guess we would go Run DMC self-titled album, right? Boom. That's one right there. Paid in
Mm-hmm.
full. Super important.
Okay.
Straight out of Compton,
It
right?
takes a nation.
Huh? It takes a nation, of course. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That might be at the top of the pile.
After that,
After that, important. Because usually important, I would imagine, is like stuff that comes early. So would it be fair to say anything after Southern Playalistic could be deemed as important?
here's here's what I mean about how it is 10 most important. Well, this southern region has had as great a run as any region has had, really musically, in the history of hip hop, which is still an abbreviated tenure within itself in terms of its existence of hip hop as we know it in the music, especially on the musical and the rapping side of it. Um, well, this is the album that really broke down the barriers. It's like,
On a
well, we had,
mainstream level. I mean, because
yeah,
everybody else before then it was more underground.
yeah. I mean, and not to say, I mean, I think Scarface gave us respectability
Yeah.
on an MC level before Outkast came along, but Outkast actually broke through and I think took all the elements of the groups before them. Like they took the Ghetto Boys' truth, they took UGK's swag, they took 8 Ball and MJG's like funk and blues inspired, and they meshed it together and they made it, work. With a little 3-6 even in there too, with like a lot of the horn. Like they took everybody that came before them group wise. They took the best pieces of all those groups and they made themselves into something really, really dope. And quite frankly, I think probably short of maybe Scarface and Bun B, and Bun B probably wasn't even to that point. Yet these guys as MCs were better than those guys too. So that's what made it important. It's like, well, it was the meshing of all the little Southern influences that came before, and these guys were the dopest MCs as a combo that had come along. So it was like perfect timing too. And so, yeah, it is one of the 10 most important because it set the whole Southern rap climate sphere on fire and made people want to come down here and made this part of the multi-million and now I guess I would say billion-dollar industry that is hip-hop.
You know what? Let's be real. Let's be real. And because I know I see Illmatic in the chat, and I see the Chronic and Doggy Style in the chat. And somebody also said, well, the Truest makes a good point here, and I know he's usually trolling. He said Chronic or Doggy Style, not both. I get that.
He usually is trolling. We don't even know if the Truest is a woman or a man, really, do we actually? So let's not. Right, but whoever they usually are trolling. But I kind of feel that way too. It's like, well, if we're talking about
Impact is the Chronic to me.
Yeah, Impact and Influence is the Chronic. Actually, it's just Doggy Style's a better record, so it makes it a conversation. Actually, both of those nods should go to the Chronic. It's just Doggy Style is a better album, so it feels,
Not by a lot either, if it is, because I still would debate that. This is where I was going to go with this. Because I know Ready to Die. We're going to say Ready to Die impactful, right? But let's be real, though. A lot of what Big kind of was doing, that whole player shit with the Kangos, that comes from Players Ball, which was directed by P. Diddy. Boom. Importance. Impact.
Right. No. I mean,
been wearing furry Kangos, so that shit is old. I'm hard pressed to say 10 is more important. And I know a lot of people are saying important to the South, but how important is the South to hip hop as a whole?
That's what I'm saying. If this is arguably the most, I agree with you. I think this is the most important rap album that ever came out of the South. That alone within itself should give it top 10 status or at least definite consideration. So the fact that people are like giving like all the West Coast and East Coast albums is part of, part of the talk on Two Dope Boys on a Cadillac on ATLs. You know what I'm saying?
Do you think it's more important than 36 Chambers?
No.
Okay. I see All Eyes on Me in here.
It is more important than All Eyes on Me.
Okay.
It is. All Eyes on Me didn't shift any climate for a whole region. That's what I'm saying. This album
All Eyes on Me gave us the double disc. I guess we could say that the most for All Eyes on Me, right?
I mean, you can say that if you want, but that's still not more important than influencing like a whole coast and a culture like gravitating down to the area because of that album specifically.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, think about what you're saying. Puff shot their first video. What Southern rap group ever got that kind of attention from an East Coast guy?
Now, I want to get my timelines right. Players Ball comes out in 93.
December.
Yeah. Okay. So when did the video come out? And I guess where I'm getting to is, did Players Ball come out before did it come out before Juicy?
I believe so, yes. Yes, Players Ball was before Juicy, if memory serves.
Because, I didn't see Big in the Kangos and all of that until, after Players Ball and after Cavs was doing what they were doing. Yeah, that was Big Papa, yeah. Because Big on Big Papa looks way different than Big on Juicy, wardrobe-wise.
Happened fast.
Yeah. I see Get Rich or Die Trying is... I don't think Get Rich or Die Trying is impactful and is important. I think it was a moment. Because honestly, what did it actually do for New York hip-hop? Some could say that it pushed it backwards.
It's one of the best moments in rap history, though. It is.
Oh, definitely. It's one of those doggy style moments, actually. But you know what? Let's get to that album itself. What was your favorite song on Southern Playalistic?
Oh, Mike, you know it still ain't no thing. Probably ain't no thing
Really?
was. Yeah, ain't no thing was my favorite song like then. It's still probably my favorite song now. It's it's the Outkast that you're never gonna hear again, format wise, because they have two verses apiece. Big
Yeah.
Boy's actually freestyling at the end of the song. It has them going back and forth on the hook, and like for me, that's like young Southern rap, wordsmith, street knowledge type shit. You know what I'm saying?
LP
Like,
says LL was rocking Kangos in the 80s. Those were buckets. This is different. But yeah, go ahead. These was the player Kangos.
yeah,
It's a little
but
different.
but
Um,
ain't no thing in Crumble and Herb were my two favorites
okay.
as a young man and a teenager, and still probably now to this day. Yeah, Crumble and Herb ain't no thing.
You know, I think that what my favorites were then are kind of different than what my favorites are now. I mean, Get Up, Get Out is definitely a standout record, right? Um, it's different. It actually put them in position to do what they ended up doing on ATLians and beyond as far as like content wise. But the song Southern Playalistic alone, like that chorus is beautiful. And the way it's put together and the way it hits, I think Funky Ride makes it. I think Funky Ride's the X Factor song on this album.
I agree.
I don't know, man. It's tough. You
It's
know
their
what? You know what? My personal favorite is Claiming True.
I love Claiming
That's
True.
my personal favorite.
You want to know what, Mike? That's my personal favorite verse on the album is Andre's verse on there. Oh,
Yeah.
Heavenly Father, why you even bother watching over me? Growing up a
Yeah.
little G, my mama thought I grow to be a lawyer or a doctor, but I felt like how my heart up had to shank up in my socks when I started kindergarten.
This ain't no secret garden, so you fly when niggas flee. Yeah, it's like you said, you're never gonna hear that Outkast again.
We
It's
never
like
even
it's such
guys.
a vintage, um, just a vintage piece of work.
It's their second best album, Mike.
It's their second best album. I'm completely in agreement with that.
Their second
You
best
know,
album.
and I know a lot of people love ATLians, and you know it's not a bad thing when ATLians is your third best album. But for me, obviously they're better rappers on ATLians, but the tutelage and the tools that they were able to be given on this album from Organized Noise and all the musicians surrounding it, all the vocalists surrounding it, they armed these 19-year-olds with the background and the foundation to be able to go on to be the group that they became. And you hear all that in this album. And this album, honestly, really, I mean, they're dope on here. It's not really about them per se, the greatness of it. It's about you sound like you're hearing a whole city, not two guys. You're hearing everybody in Atlanta, hands on deck. Let's make these two talented guys a dope ass album. I mean, Sleepy Brown gets Funky Ride. Whoever's doing the guitar solo, I don't remember. But yeah, and you got Crump on bass, like all hands on deck. Joy's on here a lot. And Goody Mob represents clearly. CeeLo's verse on Get Up, Get Out is probably one of the best, if not the best verse on the whole album, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's a magical moment. It's one of those things that you'll never get back. And for people who were outside when it came out, I could see how they feel like this is Outkast's best album. This is one of those albums similar to College Dropout. You can't duplicate this.
All their street cred is wrapped up in this album too. Understand that. Like this album is what gave them credibility.
Yeah.
You understand? Like all that whatever stuff Dre has done or tried. This is the album that enabled him to even have the flexibility to try that.
That's true.
It's how well this album came off. How well he came off on this album. How fermented they were in their style and what they represented for the city of Atlanta and the South as a whole. This Southern Playalistic is like one of the more masterful rap albums that really doesn't get discussed. Actually, Mike, there's not. I think Call It a Wild is probably the weakest track on there, Mike.
Yeah.
If Call It a Wild is your weak track, Mike, you have an all-time great album on your hands.
I personally think, all right, let's look at 94, right, from a production standpoint.
Third best album in 1994. That's saying a lot.
Yeah, but from a production standpoint, you got, I mean, no type of order. You got this album, you got Illmatic, you got Ready to Die, and you got, I think, Main Ingredients in there too for me, personally, 94 production wise.
Funk the Five.
Production wise, okay.
Love Funk. Production of Funk
I
the Five.
personally believe this is the best produced hip hop album of 94, based on the range.
If you're talking beat for beat, I might agree with you, but the way Ready to Die was executive produced,
Oh,
as
no.
in
I
the
agree.
way that, right.
No,
The
I
way,
agree with that. But I'm
the way,
talking about just the tracks themselves. But you're right. The executive production on Ready to Die is masterful.
just the intro alone.
It's
You'd
very
never-
chronic like.
It's, I mean, see, but that's the thing. Like, you know, it was very chronic, like sequence wise, but the way it was put together was like a little different. It was for East Coast people, and they got like they all the hard. Ready to Die is really, really hard starting off, Mike. It's really
Yeah.
hard. Things done changed. Give Me the Loot, Machine Gun Funk, Warning, Ready to Die.
Yeah.
Like,
You know, if those remixes.
Chronic don't start off like that.
No, that's real. If those remixes would have actually ended up on the main album, we'd be having a whole different discussion. But I mean, I was listening to Southern Playalistic. Funky Ride came on. That whole guitar solo and all that. I'm like, what hip hop album was doing those type of things in 1994?
No, I agree with you. If you're talking beat for beat,
From a production standpoint.
Yeah, no. Beat for beat, like the beats on there were very like eclectic. You hadn't really heard a sound like that. It sounded like it was inspired by the East and the West.
Yeah. I mean, I think with Dre and Big Boy, you know, they got looped into that whole hieroglyphic type of flow thing. But I think from a production standpoint, G-Funk was very impactful when it came to like the production style of what Southern Playalistic was. And it's crazy because clearly at that point, they hadn't found their sound. And this is what they came with. And the next album is totally different. You know, I think I kind of looked at it different when it was happening. I looked at it like Outkast was taking us on a trip with each album. And I still believe that. But I also look back at it like, I don't think Outkast ever really truly found their sound in those days. They were young. And so they were trying to find their actual sound. And that's what we ended up hearing. I think Akumina was them meshing both their first and second album, elements of it. And then we got that. I think Stankonia was them doing something totally different. Like we said before, Stankonia is like the only album that Andre 3000 is on. Before that, he was just Andre Benjamin. He didn't even really have a solid rap name for those first four albums. So I think they were really trying to continuously find themselves, and this is what we got out of it.
I think I guess you could say that if you want to, but
what does the Outkast sound like? If somebody dropped in from outer space and they were like, what song would you say defines Outkast? What song are you playing?
I'm probably playing Elevators.
You think so?
Yeah, you're probably gonna have to play Elevators because it exhibits who both of them are so well. And it exhibits the dynamics of the group expression that I keep talking about. It's like, well, Andre steals the show, but the bones of that track are Big Boy. That hook, the way he pieces together through Andre's visceral rants, you know, and the beat is knocking, and it's just slow and melodic enough that you feel the southern roots of it, but it's got enough of an East Coast and West Coast vibe to it that people can knock to, and that's what they do well. They do a really good job about the fusion of all things hip-hop while still expressing and identifying their own personal plights, and Elevators is a good reflection of that.
I think that's a good pick based on how you broke that down. Yeah, because they are very reflective on there.
Yes.
Michael Brown says, just seeing this, is this a new start time for the podcast? Yeah, I
Yes.
mean, we were 1 o'clock. What do you guys think about it?
Yeah.
But I was gonna say Bombs Over Bad Dad on a creative level, but I see where you're saying what you're saying from an MC level. See, that's the thing about Cass. It's like you have you could like Cass for two different things. Me personally, I like them for both creative and for their bar work. But for the people who like them for their bar work, you're gonna have the elevators, the Benz or Beamers, stuff
Well,
like that.
no. Well, listen to what I'm about to say. This is why I mean I would pick elevators. Because of elevators, you could go backwards and forwards and still find those guys on that song. Like on elevators, you can go back to Benzo or Beamer or Ain't No Thing or Hootie Hoo and be like, no, I can still hear that guy. But you can go forward to like Rosa Parks and the art of storytelling and So Fresh, So Clean and Miss Jackson and hear those people too. It's a good reflection record because if you play Bombs Over Baghdad for somebody has the record, well, then when you play Benz or Beamer, you're like, those ain't the same guys. You're like, those are the same guys. But if you play Elevators, no, you can play Bombs Over Baghdad and Benzo or Beamer after Elevators and be like, no, I get it. Those are the same guys. Because creatively, the way that they're reflecting on things on Elevators, you can see how they have that style mastered and can do it much quicker and on a higher MC level on Bombs Over Baghdad.
I mean, they showed us that on Stankonia when they did Spaghetti Junction. Like, some people believe that that song is actually an old song. I don't believe that. I know you were saying that you think that. I think
Just
that was a new song that they made in the old style. And it's funny you say old style. In 2000, shit, Southern Playlistics was only 6 years old. You know what I'm saying? That's Kendrick Lamar's whole break right there.
it's them going back and forth on the mic just seamlessly. It just didn't seem like no. We have no evidence that that track was made around the time.
It sounds like the current guy. Shout out to my man. Shout out to 007 out here with the $20 super chat. He says, y'all killing me with the early time. Hope it's a one-time thing. Did Pusha change track list order or something? Respect y'all. Y'all went through music with more mature minds in my favorite era of hip hop. 86 baby, keep it going. Yeah, we're thinking about making 1 o'clock the new time. Let us know what y'all think about that and what works, because we want to do what works for the people, because we are a platform of the people and we appreciate all the feedback y'all give.
I don't want to.
Go ahead.
I'm about to say I don't want to turn this into like an Outkast, like you know what I mean.
Yeah, because we could go on and on, but yeah, Southern Playlistic celebrated 20. What is it now? Is it 28 years? Yeah, 94. Yeah. Wow. But yeah, I mean, like I said, that break between Southern Playlistic and Stankonia, that's pretty much Kendrick Lamar's break. 6 years.
I'm gonna say less.
Okay.
No, because you want to know. Hey, I'm gonna say something right quick. People really think that we don't like Kendrick.
I love Kendrick. We just like music.
I mean, I just don't understand what world we live in where it's like, like these people, their job is to make music and to release music. and if we're talking about somebody and we're talking about them and them not releasing music, it's obvious because we want to hear the music too.
Yeah.
And we're just highlighting how nobody, this talented, has ever really done anything like this. If he wasn't talented, we wouldn't be highlighting it.
And we wouldn't be talking about him at all.
Right. If he didn't matter, if he didn't matter, if he wasn't great, we wouldn't be raising the question. It's like, hold on, where the hell you been?
Yeah.
We're raising the question because of the talent level.
I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to May 13th, not just because it's my born day, but yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing what we're gonna hear. Actually, you know what? Do you think we're gonna get a single ahead of time?
I don't know. I've heard a couple of blurbs from some of the people in our threads and in some other places that some of the slang and the lingo about the album title is more street oriented, possibly, than we originally expected, which gives me more of a reason to believe that there's going to be rap on here. Like
Did
they
you
rap
see
out.
that they're making projections already about the first week sale without any songs being heard? So I
Really?
saw this. Shout out to the people over at Our Generation Music. They're saying Kendrick Lamar's new album is expected to sell 350,000 units the first week. We don't even
I
have a
was
song.
I was gonna say 250.
And he showed up at Coachella too with Baby Kim, so he's out here in these streets.
No. Is he is he officially outside? Officially
He's
outside?
officially outside. He's outside and looks like in some boots and stuff too. But
I
yeah,
don't care. I don't
he's
care about the
outside.
I care about the skills.
But I'm just saying, we don't even have an actual record. And so people are saying that there's a projection of 350,000. At least that's what I think it was. What is it? Datametrics or whatnot. Their Twitter page. That's what they do. So I want to see how close this is to the actual numbers when they come in. But how can you actually make projections and there's no music out there? That's wild to me. DeCarlo says he might do 500,000. I mean, we got to hear some music first, guys, right? Because if we're making projections off of just a person, this is just hype now.
No, Mike. I sincerely thought that just off of who he is and how today's climate kind of works, that he would be good for about 250.
Okay.
I think he's good for 250.
Okay.
I wouldn't want to say more than that, and I wouldn't disrespect him and say less than that. That's what I mean. It's like, no, I'm aware of his stature, and I'm aware of how long it's taken this album to be released. And so we keep talking about it because it's taken too damn long, just to be quite honest with you, in the minds and the thoughts of many. All of y'all are like, I'm cool on waiting, I'm cool on waiting, I'm cool on waiting. It's like, no, you're just saying that because you're a fan. You really want this album the way that we do. We're getting the album in a couple of weeks. I'm sincerely excited about it. But think about what we're saying. We're talking about him doing 250, 350, 500. Let's go to this Pusha T rollout right quick. Because how many did he just do?
It's a good question. I'll look that up real fast.
I knew already. I believe he did 55 to 60K,
well,
which placed him at number one.
Okay.
So
LP with the super chat says, saw what he was wearing. It better be a rock album. I think this is the thing too. Whatever single we get, we're gonna kind of know a little bit about the album, and I think that based on whatever they have, whatever they got over there at PG Lane, a single could blow these numbers that we're talking about up or deflate them. It's been 5 years. That's the 5-year effect, right? Whatever he drops, it's got to be something that people are like, oh shit, I can't wait to hear the album. I think that you don't agree with that. I think it's safe to not put out anything. If you're getting projections for 350 with no song, don't put out anything.
I agree with that part. Now, I agree with that part.
Don't put out anything.
I wouldn't put out anything if I was him.
Yeah.
But I would tell you, and this is to his measure and to his stature, well, he has enough stature that he doesn't need to drop necessarily a single.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you exactly why. Well, that's not what he's known for anyway, and why you go pick up his project. He is one of the few people whose all-time greatness is attached to the fact of the entirety of the product that he puts out, not the song-by-song structure or basis that he puts out, by the album structure that he puts out. His song by song, I mean, go look at his singles. That's what I wasn't trying to be funny when I say it's like, no, if you go play his greatest hits up against other people's greatest hits in the upper echelon, it doesn't resonate the same. And it's not an error thing. It's not his strength is what I'm saying. Like, he doesn't have a today was a good day. That's just a fact. That ain't a nostalgia thing. He don't got no shit that slaps like that single-wise, period.
Yo, shout out to Jay Short with the super chat, and shout out to our people in Cali. Speaking of Cali, said, you're killing us in Cali with this time. Much love, though. Okay, we might need to find a happy medium for our people on the West Coast.
It's 10 o'clock in Cali.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it's 11 in Cali now, but yeah, okay.
Yeah. Well, you know what? We'll keep that in consideration. We might bump it up to. I mean, I think 3 wouldn't hurt. Cause what it is, man, we want to be able to have these conversations and not spill all the way into people's nights and whatever they got going on, especially on Friday. Because
Correct.
people back outside. So I don't know, man. I think maybe 3. We've been doing 4, 4:30ish, sometimes 5, and yeah, maybe like 3, 3:30 might make it work.
I, yeah, let's try to shoot for. I mean, I feel like you and me probably need to start at least pregame in 3:15, 3:30, so that maybe
Yeah.
we can be live at 4. Because I'm thinking at 4 o'clock it's 1 on the West Coast,
Yeah.
and we can be done by 7, and that'll be 4 over there and 7 right here, and it's
Yeah.
What do you think, Mike?
I
How do you
think
feel?
that works. I'm with that, man. LP
Okay.
with the super chat says, it's hype. The less he releases, the more people will listen when it drops. The opposite of Push. The single is too risky. I agree. I think Pusha gave us way too much. That's that old school traditional style of doing a rollout. He gave us 3 songs that were on the album. And I think that Diet Coke and even Hear Me Clearly specifically, and especially the song with Jay, they would have had a whole different effect if people hadn't heard them weeks and weeks before the album dropped.
I agree. So I've listened to the album some more. You want to segue over into the Push album, or where you want to go next? Because Push got reviewed by Pitchfork. Did you want to kind of go?
Let's talk about that real quick. Shout out 007 again, said Big Bros, 4:30 Eastern Standard Time is good. Driving home, we good. So yeah, people are gonna be driving home and around those times. So yeah, 4:30 ish. We'll keep that in consideration.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So Pitchfork Media reviewed It's Almost Dry, and they gave it a 7.3. Right? Was it a 7.3?
7.8.
7.8. They gave Daytona 8.3.
Mm-hmm.
They said a lot of favorable things about it. I mean, I think one of the big things that I took away from it is they talked about the fact that Pharrell has inserted himself into Pusha T's solo career in the ways that the Neptunes inserted themselves into, obviously Clip's career.
Well, he's not inserting himself. He's always kind of been there. This is where it started for them.
Yeah, this is where it started, but as a solo artist, most of
Right.
Pusha T's big time records weren't Pharrell records. Trouble on My Mind is one that sticks out in my mind.
I'm actually going to bring up one that comes to mind in a minute, too. First of all, when I read the article, I was like, okay, well, they've been watching us.
Well, as they should, and they've been listening to the people too.
Good. That's what they need to be doing, listening to the people.
Do you feel any different about It's Almost Dry now?
Well, that's what I was about to tell you. I find myself enjoying it a little bit more, like because I've listened it back to back to back and like kind of ran through it a few times, but the honest critique hasn't changed, and where I'm having it rated at that 4.25 that actually you rated it at, Mike, like 4.25. Well, I don't see any reason to put it higher than that. I don't see anything going on to put it higher than that. I think we did a song by song rating of it, correct?
Yeah, we did.
And when we did, it's like I believe I gave Brambleton and Let the Smoker Shine the Coupe a 5 out of 5, and I think I gave I Pray For You and Diet Coke 4.5. I would move that I Pray For You 4.5 up to a 5. But everything else I would pretty much keep the same. It's a collection of a lot of dope songs. There's some really great stuff on here. Mike, you know who jumped in the comments on YouTube?
Who's that?
Harlow.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Harlow jumped in. And Hollow's analysis, because Mike, you know what Hollow's Ear for Music is like. He was like, no, y'all was on point. There's only about 4 great tracks on here.
Yeah.
Like, great. Like, every track on Daytona is great. Understand what I'm saying? There's 4 great tracks on this 12-track album. All 7 songs on Daytona are great.
For me, And again, I think that the album of the year thing kind of comes into play here, but it's also the fact that Pusha T is such a talented MC and lyricist and writer. And obviously, the Neptunes are who they are. Pharrell is who he is, and Kanye is who he is. I feel like the writing on this album could have been better, and I think that Malice's verse really proves that. Imagine how, with Malice's perspective, right, and his ability to balance out the life and reality and consequence. How do you think he would have handled this album from a substance level? Because you said something last time. Malice is the substance.
Yeah, he's the substance and the conscience of the group. He always has been.
Yeah.
Like I told you, there's never been an all-time great rapper that's been more comfortable just sliding right back into his all-time great group, because he, in Malice, he actually has somebody comparable to him MC-wise who also happens to be his brother. You know, like how many people have that? It's like, well, Andre has that. Has somebody great in Big Boy. But as far as duos go, name another duo that has a rapper like Push, where he can go back into a fold with a rapper of that caliber, who also happens to be your brother.
I remember when I first heard Grinding, because I think that might have been my first real look at Clips, because the funeral, I may have seen it in passing, but didn't really, Yeah. So when I first heard them, I couldn't tell them apart vocally, because they're brothers and they look similar. I thought they were twins, right? And so I thought that they've always been comparable on that level, but I never really realized until we really started digging in how different they are. And I think that Malice has some of those things that can make you an all-time great MC from substance level that Pusha just doesn't have. I truly believe, as great as I think Pusha is, and I think that Pusha's incredible, I think that if Malice would have had these same 12 songs and taken on, whatever subject he wanted to take on, this would be a more full effort. And I think that Pusha has these abilities to do it, but he doesn't do it. And he doesn't turn it on.
So the beauty in Hell Hath No Fury, and why I love it so much, and why I have it so high in that echelon and that style of album, right below the Purple Tape and Reasonable Doubt, has to do with the insightful rhetoric on the album. Most of that insightful rhetoric is coming from Malice, but that enables Pusha T to be like this, like Cool G rap, Biggie villainous type of rapper on Hell Hath No Fury, and that's what he's really great at. And so that's what I mean. Well, nobody's more comfortable sliding back into a group fold than him, because that just allows him to amplify all those things that he does so well and has been doing so well by himself.
Yeah.
Now, there are some people that are saying that this album does have depth to it in terms of the things that he's revealing and how he's talking, even though it's references to his drug dealing past, right? But this is what I keep trying to say. Well, you just haven't been following the catalog. So you know Brambleton, Mike?
Mm-hmm.
Brambleton is just an extension of Snitch.
Yeah.
Sorry, nigga, I'm trying to come home.
Yeah. Well, the interview from Vlad was an answer to that song.
Correct.
Shout out to L Bugs in the room.
So let's act like he hasn't addressed this situation before on prior albums that didn't garner the same level of attention. And if we're talking on a creative level, Snitch is a better record than Brambleton from a writing and creative perspective, because they literally made a whole acronym out of the word snitch and made a song called Sorry Nigga, I'm Trying to Come Home, where he's talking about all these things that led to the interview that led to Brambleton. So he has been personal like this before. So people need to stop with that. Well, he's never been in depth like this before about the game. Yes, he has. He just haven't been listening as long.
Yeah, I think that this was a grand opportunity to do it on a high level, especially with a rollout like this. Like I said, especially like based on, the past 4 years, I feel like that step and that we already know that Pusha T is an elite MC in our mind, as as Pusha T fans. But I think from a mainstream level, that step could have been seamlessly achieved on this effort. And I think in those terms, they fell a little bit short. But if they can't, if what the mission was to come through and just give some bangers and do what you do well, then they accomplished that.
Yes, that's what I mean. There's some great stuff on here. There's some good stuff on here. A little bit of mid, and then he's out. Overall, a really dope project. But when people are thinking that we're overanalyzing this and critiquing it, no, we're not. And here's why. His lore and his legend has grown since his last album. Mm-hmm. It had. That's part of how this rollout happened. It's like he didn't have it like that before Daytona. And so the stakes are higher because his notoriety and his notability and even the weight class that he's considered in is higher. You get weighted differently when that happens.
Yeah. It's different, man. If you, I mean, what Giannis, after what Giannis did last year, the expectations are different.
Yeah. No, like I look at him the same way I look at Durant and look at LeBron. It's like, oh, if you go home, that's unacceptable.
Yeah.
LeBron and Durant are home right now.
That's part of being great.
It's unacceptable that they're home right now. It's unacceptable.
Who's home right now? LeBron, Kyrie, or Durant? No.
LeBron and Durant, no excuse to be home. And I'm going to tell you why they're both home. The point guards that they chose. And they need to eradicate themselves from both of them. Yeah. The point guards they chose is the reason they're sitting at home. There's no excuse for those dudes to be sitting at home. Because here's the weight of it. I mean, how we looking at them? Like, we ain't looking at Westbrook and Kyrie like they failures. We looking at LeBron and Durant like they failures. Same thing if Pusha T album don't go. We're not going to, like you said, who did you give most of the blame to about why this album isn't album of the year? You gave it to Pusha T. Why? Because he's the primetime player.
And it's his album.
His album.
It's his album. And it sounds like even from the interviews when he talks about him and Pharrell's working relationship, doesn't sound like he was dictating the pace sonically. I honestly, and you know me, I'm a Kanye fan. I think that maybe they should have just left Kanye off of this one, and just went ahead and just cooked up 12 with Pharrell and whoever.
I would disagree with you, but only about two records. First of all, Dreaming of the Past is better than I thought it was, even though I still don't love that.
I think that's the best he rapped on there, on the whole album, in my opinion.
Yes.
He was spitting on Dreaming of the Past.
Yeah, Dreaming of the Past is pretty dope. And, of course, Diet Coke. But after that, he could have been out. Yeah, he could have been out after that. Yeah. He could have been out with the Diet Coke and Dreaming of the Past. Because I was listening to Rock and Roll yesterday, and it's like, don't try to hype that song up into more than what it is. It's just a solid record. Same, scrape it off. Don't try to hype that up to be more than what it is. It's a solid record. I'm feeling Call My Bluff and Open Air a little bit more. But sonically, I still feel like they could have been a little bit better, although I feel creatively what he was trying to do. What I'm trying to say is that sound-wise, the sounds being used by Pharrell, well, they don't necessarily all the time mesh with the vocalist. Yeah. And so that's what makes the vocal performance so great, is that the vocalist in here, Pusha T, is having to alter what he does vocally at times to mesh with Pharrell's beats. Well, it's a great feat, and it's a great mark of how great of an MC he is, but some of the records are just 4s when they could be 5s because of that.
Shout out to LP with the super chat. He says Pusha was talking deeper on his mixtapes. People don't know that they got another brother that got addicted to drugs. People just weren't listening then. Yeah, I mean, people tend to get deep on their mixtapes. And like I said, for those people who didn't hear those records, I'm not asking people to go out there and recycle material. But, you can speak on things again. If you feel like it. But again, this was the center stage to do so. 007 says Kyrie is not a point guard. He's a shooting guard, just like Pusha Bar Smith. I feel the same way about Westbrook, honestly.
Somebody that's a Duke fan that's been following Kyrie Irving since he was in high school, he never once has been tagged, labeled as a shooting guard. Not in high school, not in college. Not drafted as a point guard.
Well, I understand what 007 is saying. It's kind of like Allen Iverson, who was actually a shooting guard. But
Man, pick a
It's
better
kind
running.
of like Iverson and Wade played point guard for a second too. Westbrook and
Wade's a
Kyrie,
better point
these
guard than Bron.
guys are such great scorers. It's like when
No,
you put them in the point guard position, it feels like it undermines both positions.
no, they're just not good point guards. Like that's just it at the end of the day. And
You
there
don't
really
think
is
Kyrie's a good point guard?
no.
You
I
don't think he was a
mean,
good point guard in Cleveland, or he didn't need to be a point guard in Cleveland?
I mean, let's just unpack this right quick and get back to it. And keep in mind, I'm a Duke fan, so I've been watching Kyrie for a very long time. Well, it took LeBron having one of literally the greatest performances we've ever seen for him to procure the one ring that he did have.
What
Okay?
an incredible performance!
Like that's a fact of the matter.
Yeah.
And if you just let's just go to track record. Well, how was Cleveland before LeBron came when Kyrie was the man? They were
a lottery team.
Okay, so how did the Celtics do when Kyrie was hurt? They went to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah.
How does the Celtics team look now with Marcus Smart as the point guard instead of Kyrie Irving as the point guard? Well, they just got done sweeping the Brooklyn Nets. Did you know who was in first place when it was just Kevin Durant and James Harden running the point guard for the Brooklyn Nets? Well, that would be the Brooklyn Nets.
There's an X factor here, a common denominator.
Right, all I'm just saying is everywhere. And think about it. This is happening while he's getting to play with LeBron and KD. Like it doesn't get any easier than that in this generation, and he still can't find a way to win or do right. He's a mess as a point guard. He's never even made an All NBA team, has he?
I think he has.
Maybe once in 11 years. So do players who have made one All NBA team in 11 years go to the Hall of Fame? If so, show them to me.
LP with the super chat says, if Ye gave Pusha the same 5 with 2 more, and it was 7 like Daytona, it would have been a 3-5 at best. He had many other people helping him. Yeah, I mean, we could go to those numbers too. I think, though, let's be real. If this album was broken down into the best 7 songs, I don't know. It's not Daytona, but it's pretty good, right?
Best sellers.
Jay Short said there's never been a good rap song called Rock and Roll. That's hilarious. Well, I think that's a good segue, right?
Right, go ahead. Yep.
Rolling Stone is kind of crowning Jack Harlow as the next king of hip hop. And I wanted to choose my words properly because we're actually going to delve into the article. This cover came out a couple of weeks back. Not a lot of people are talking about it, but one of the things that made my antennas go up is this meme or just post that keeps going around. I think initially it was Complex that posted it, but when Kendrick released his album date, they have this lineup for the next 4 weeks of hip hop, talking about it's going to be a crazy 4 weeks, and it says Pusha T, 422, Future, 429. Jack Harlow, 5'6", and Kendrick Lamar, 5'13". And I'm like, and people even in the comment section are like, ain't nobody really checking for Jack Harlow like that. And I remember seeing Jack Harlow got, on the Rolling Stone cover. We talked about it in our previous show. And this whole watch the throne thing, or going for the throne, made me want to open up the book and really delve into the article. And I found some interesting things in the article. If y'all don't mind, we're going to go through it. And, stop me at any point and we can stop and discuss. But I think these things need to be broken down because a lot of the times agendas get hidden within text because they know a lot of people ain't reading this stuff.
So before you go in on the article, I do want to preface it by saying that I think that you agree with my sentiment that I'm about to express. This is a macro look at how corporate appropriation happens.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Oh, I thought you had more to say.
No. I do have more to say, but that's just the preface of it. This is like what corporate appropriation looks like in the hip hop sphere on a macro level for somebody like a Rolling Stone with the tone, the sentiment, and the just, you seen the article. Go ahead, Mike.
Okay, we're going to get into the article right now. Okay, Jack Harlow is a heartthrob and a budding superstar. He wants a lot more. And this is written by a gentleman named Brian Hyatt. Let's see, where do I start? You know what? I think I'm gonna start here because it's a very lengthy article.
Okay, I was about to say. So I'm going to start with a couple things then, and you can go through that. One of the first things that I noticed, and this is where the appropriation starts. They start off very early in the article about name dropping Drake and Kanye to try to get some credibility. That's part of how this appropriation thing works. It's like, well, no. Drake and Kanye said he was okay.
You know what that reminds me of?
Drake and Kanye ain't even from the streets. They don't have no street cred.
That reminds me of people saying, well, such and such says such and such is in their top 5. Hey, if he were black, he'd be a Muhammad Ali. Let me get to this article.
What is that? He's already been, Mike, here's the privilege. He's being cast as Woody Harrelson's character in The White Man Can't Jump
I was going to get to that. Based on what?
Based on what? You know, Woody Harrelson is actually a brilliant actor and an accomplished actor. Before he took on the role of White Man Can't Jump, he was arguably on one of the 5 most successful sitcoms ever created in U.S. television history, and literally was the scene stealer of that show.
He was. All right, let me get into this article real quick. All right, so he said, the writer says, one of those shows raised money. I'm going to skip around because it's a whole lot. Basically, he followed Jack Harlow around his hometown in Louisville, Kentucky. So, one of those shows raised money to restore gazebos-like structures right here in Cherokee Park, the site of fond memories, place where he grew up. Smoked a lot of weed in these things here, Harlow says, as he stepped out of the car early February afternoon. His white John Deere low-top crushing is in fresh snow. We lauder here in this park when we didn't have nothing to do, but you had cars, you come out here, Harlow. Taller and more broad-shouldered than he looked, say in a TikTok, wearing a light jean and thin black sweater, no jacket. Despite his icy air from the Ohio River, he slides his manicured hand into his pocket. You know, this writer, I don't know what his orientation is, whatever, but he seems like he has a thing for Jack Harlow in this article. Yeah, he's really gushing over the man, like the whole heartthrob thing,
so let's
the freshly manicured hands. Where are we going with this?
So part of how this works on a macro level and how you create this is you have to edify them and make them into the sex symbol that you want them to be. So this is part of the process of that through the detailed writing of the writer, you know, literally having to explain to you why this person is attractive, which is part of the problem. It's like, well, that just works the way everything else does. It's like, well, either you got that shit or you don't.
He's telling people this guy's a heartthrob, like.
Right.
But see, that's the thing from this article that's very odd, and it's all over the place. And you guys are gonna see this. It's like they're painting him as a lyrics first guy, but he's a heartthrob and he makes music for women. So it's a you know, because they talk about Eminem and 8 Mile and his influence there. It's kind of like they're combining Eminem and Drake into how they want him to be presented, if that makes any sense.
Yes, and that's not fair. Like, this is what I mean about how people control the narrative and stuff. You know, when I found out that Tupac and Method Man and Nas were good looking and were heartthrobs, when my homegirls had pictures of her, or when I would talk about them, and you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we just listening to the music. You ain't got to say all this shit.
Right, like the ladies are gonna determine.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't gotta write it. They even gonna be like, that white boy sexy or he not.
All right, so they go blah blah blah. They're talking about when he had local fame, this and that, and this is where the part that you were talking about with Drake and Kanye. It says Harlow was already achieving some local fame back then, and now he's a budding superstar and vanquishingly rare white rapper with credibility. co-signed by two of his biggest heroes, Drake and Kanye West. This nigga can rap, bro, West wrote memorably on his Instagram before recruiting Harlow for a guest spot on Donda 2 and saying, nigga, I mean that as a compliment. Top 5 out right now. Okay. Last night, Harlow was up memorizing lines from his self-tape audition for an acting role that turned out to be a remake of White Man Can't Jump. They think I'd be a perfect fit for it, he said. He ends up getting the part, the one Woody Harrelson originally played. There's just something surreal about where I am in life, Harlow says. It's just crazy to think that you were walking on the sidewalks dreaming, and then you be living it.
No, that only happens to white people. This is what white people everybody welcome to what white privilege looks like. And I don't have a problem with white privilege. I want that same privilege and this same type of life that he's able to acquire so easily by being a moderately talented rapper. I want the same thing for my daughter should she be moderately talented at something. I want her to be able to become a multimillionaire and a heartthrob for being moderately talented at something in a sphere where she is not the predominant race. I would love that for her, but that's why they call it white privilege, because it's a privilege. It's not shared amongst the other races and classes. And this is it on the highest level. This is a white ass publication taking this white guy and expressing his whiteness, and people talking about me, why you got to call him a white boy? They call him a white boy.
They're highlighting his whiteness a lot.
They're highlighting his whiteness more than I am. So it's okay for the white people to highlight the whiteness.
Jay Short says Kanye corny for that. I agree with that. Yeah, because these are the sound bites that they gather, or Instagram bites or whatever that they gather to add credibility to something that might not have earned that credibility on its own. This is what I'm interested in seeing. I'm interested in seeing who's going to play the Sydney character in White Man Can't Jump. Because I bet you it ain't going to be somebody who ain't never acted before in their life.
These are facts.
What's his acting resume looking like? You know what I'm saying? They said you were going to be perfect. They said you're going to be perfect for the Woody Harrelson role. Based on what?
And who's Wesley Snipes' character?
That's what I'm saying. That's the Sydney character. Who's playing Wesley Snipes' character?
Okay. Yeah. I bet you it's going to be a classically trained black actor.
Yeah.
Bet you. Yeah.
Probably British. Let's be real.
Probably.
Well, let's go on. Because it's a whole lot.
It's a lot. It's very problematic. It's very problematic what they do.
Very problematic.
And understand, and this is what I mean about the corporate appropriation of it. Well, they only step into this sphere when it behooves them financially. So in him, they see financial gain behooving them, and therefore the appropriation starts. Because it starts with the root of evil. It starts with the money aspect of it and their ability. And this is what I mean. They're literally waiting in the wings for white guys like this to prop up ever since Eminem, to put them in the machine to try to make them into something they're not. Because there's even a Mac Miller reference in here. So there's
there's a Mac Miller reference in here that's kind of disrespectful.
It is.
And there's also a Macklemore reference in here too.
Right. So,
yeah.
Mike, what that is? That's like literally robbing a convenience store and walking out with the gun in your hand and wondering why everybody's calling you a robber. Well, you just robbed the store and you got the gun in your hand. You keep showing that you're only concerned with trying to prop these white rappers up into Eminem's sphere that he, like we're going to probably end up having to talk about, unfairly got placed in.
Well, the thing is, they saw what worked with Eminem. And I mean, when I say they, I mean like the major publications and the major outlets. And, they do this for all artists when it comes to marketing them. But marketing a white rapper has become one of those things on a mainstream level where they have to look at what has worked and what hasn't worked. And either way, it's going to really come out very formulated. And I think there's some elements to what worked with Eminem that they're clearly using here. I see them using the credibility thing a lot They even talked about the baby and Tory Lanez because he had them on a remix of What's Happening, and he separated himself from them two in this article, and also, made sure that he said that he was supporting Megan. We're gonna get to all of that. I think this part of it's the credibility part that they're adding on to it. So, said Harlow sounds at times like he's emerged from a very low-powered time machine. He references rappers in their 30s and 40s way more than his actual peers, as if he's gunning to conquer the rap world of the 2010s or so. He focuses on lyrical prowess, meanwhile, feels like a throwback of any earlier era, excuse me. He wanted to make a direct claim to the hip hop throne, which would arguably make him the first white rapper to do so since Eminem. Eminem was on the throne? Okay, it's news to me. The late Mac Miller was great, but wasn't into proclaiming it.
Stop right there. Can we stop right quick?
Yeah.
Why in their throne are there only Eminem and Mac Miller and now Jack Harlow involved? You get what
I thought this was hip hop, right?
This was hip hop.
Is this white hip hop here and black hip hop here, or is this hip hop?
Do you see how contrived this article and this perspective is from the white side of things?
Yeah.
It's very, very narrow, and there's nothing about it that's really hip hop. Nothing about this.
When they said be the first rapper to which would arguably make him the first white rapper to do so since Eminem. All right, let me break that down real quick too, man. When did Eminem actually have the throne of the rap world? Because there's only one throne, right? We're not living in this world where we're talking about, we're calling everybody goats and all that shit. There's one throne. And there's one hip hop, right? What year was Eminem on the hip hop quote unquote throne? Y'all want to say 2002? Fine. When all those movies was out with, 8 Mile and all that. But go ahead, Coop.
I mean, no, it's very simple.
I think Jay was still running shit then. Jay and Nas was still running shit then.
One life, one love, so there can only be
one king.
Come on now. When have you ever been king, really? To anybody but and this is what I mean. Rolling Stones' words don't matter in this sphere. So you see how they prop up their importance in the sphere. It's like, oh, well, we have a say-so in the throne. No, you don't.
2002 is what people are bringing up. Brian says, LOL, Eminem was on the throne. DeCarlo says 2002. If y'all want to give him 2002, I guess I'm okay with that, even though I slightly disagree. But what was the hardest song in hip hop in 2002? Made You Look was. Yeah.
Made You Look 2002? I thought that was 03.
Nah, that was 2002 because 50 came in 03. Grinding was running the streets in 2002. So we talking about hip hop, right?
Made You Look and Grinding came out the same year?
Yeah. What Eminem songs are in that mix in 2002? I'm just saying.
Hold on. So you're telling me the Godson came out that year and Eminem was king?
Yeah. Godson came out that year and Lost Tapes, right?
And Lost Tapes?
Yeah.
But Eminem was king.
See, that's why he can't even be nice. Because I was being nice by giving Eminem 2002.
I'm not.
And that's not true.
Not over Godson and Lost Tapes. This is hip hop, right?
The Fix came out in 2002 as well.
I told you I would give it the face when we had this conversation about the Fix.
Yeah.
And then Godson and Lost. No, I mean, on a personal level, he would be no higher than third, and I would probably slide him even behind Jay in 02 and put him 4.
I got people in the chat saying Nelly in 2002. Okay.
What did Nelly do in 2002? 2002 not Country Grammar?
No, 2002 was Hot in Here and Dilemma, and if we talking about the hits, if we talking about numbers.
If we talking about numbers, Mike, I still think Country Grammar's his biggest seller, if I'm not mistaken. Country Grammar did like 6 or 7 mil.
But his biggest songs, his individual songs, was Dilemma and Hot in Here.
No, I'm saying if I was going to pick a year for Nelly, I would pick, when did Country Grammar come out? 99?
Yeah, it was 2000.
2000?
Yeah.
I would that year for Nelly over 02, truthfully, because EI and Country Grammar are better records. And
Ride With Me, too.
Ride with me, yeah. Air Force Ones, yeah.
Air Force One's a little down the line.
I
That
felt
might have been
too.
2002. Yeah,
Was it?
yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Well,
So
damn, it might be '02 for Nelly too then, because like Air Force Ones was a thing. Yeah, Nelly had a nice little run.
Harlow continues and says, "That's what made M so hard. He was in the dog pile." Harlow says, "I want to be, I want to be face. Excuse me. I want to be the face of that shit, like the face of my generation for these next 10 years. We need more people in my generation that are trying to be the best, and you can't do that with your ear candy vibe records. You got to come out swinging sometimes. My shit is much more serious. Right now, my message is letting motherfuckers know I love hip hop and I'm one of the best in my generation. You can't do that with being nonchalant, like, I got the bitches in a clever way over and over again. I got to dig deeper this time." Who is he talking to? Okay.
I like.
I like the mentality.
I'm about to say I like his mentality.
I love it. But
And notice when I'm
it's
talking.
being given to him though. Like,
And notice when I'm talking about this article, well, we haven't really said anything bad about him. It's what's being given to him and how it's being given. We really don't have a problem with him like that. It's what's being given.
well, this is the thing.
It's who
When you get a lot of help to be the best like that, it's gonna be a lot easier for you to be the best. And you know what? He wants it. I give him that. He wants it. He wants to be the face of hip hop for the next 10 years. These are his words. And you know what? If that's what he wants, publications like Rolling Stone are going to make sure they can do whatever they can in their power to help him achieve that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly why he's sitting here in the middle of a Kendrick release date and a Future release date. That didn't happen on accident. They slid him right in between two of the most important artists, individual artists of this or the previous generation, if you want to say he's this generation. Slid him right in the middle of it. He wants to be the face of hip hop in the next 10 years. He said that for the next 10 years, not in the next 10 years.
And let's just address it on some rap shit, Mike. Well, it's dropping the same day as Black Star.
Well, I think it's a couple days late, however they're working out. But yeah, it's that same week.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's dropping the same week as Black Star, but that's getting totally ignored by the mainstream media, and we're sliding Jack Harlow in here.
Right.
When Black Star ain't released the album in 24 years. That should be a hip-hop holiday.
Right, so people need to be less concerned with my musical critique of not calling Black Star's first album a classic and more concerned that Black Star isn't getting the coverage that you all desire for Black Star right now. And he is one of the main reasons why, because his rollout is happening right
on top of their shit. Right on top of their shit.
That's for everybody that loved Black Star in here that's been getting on me because I wasn't calling their album a classic because it's still not a classic. Guess what's happening to this group that you love so much that only released one album that people have been telling me are so important to this culture? They are literally being overshadowed by all of this pub for a 24-year-old white rapper who made one mid-album.
Let me go back real quick because he said, all right, this what makes M so hard. He was in the dog pile. I want to be the face of my shit. And so he said, look, like face of my generation. I don't feel like Eminem ever really wanted to be the face of hip hop in his generation. That was beyond his abilities. The face of that generation, if we talk, where's Eminem's era, right? He came out in 99 and he fizzled out in 2002. So we talking about a 3-year period, 99, 2000, 2001, 2002, a 4-year period, whatever. That's Jay-Z. He wasn't the face of this shit.
Jay-Z, DMX.
Yeah, that was DMX.
Nelly.
Yeah.
Like, I could go.
But if you talk about the early 2000s in hip-hop, that's Jay-Z. It is what it is.
Luda popping up right then too. Like it's.
I mean, people could argue that M was bigger than some of the people you name, but he wasn't bigger than X in 99, and he wasn't bigger than Jay-Z in 2000, 2001. Not in this hip-hop shit. The records don't support that.
No, they don't.
The records don't support that.
We can just, it doesn't. There's no evidence once again.
So another cosign here. Drake showed up at Harlow's concert in Toronto last year and invited Harlow back to his house afterwards. Harlow had just one thing that he needed to ask him, though he keeps, though he's keeping whatever answers he got to himself. Towards the end of our time, I just wanted to keep it real, says Harlow. Like, you're familiar with what I do. You came to my show. Like, you're up to speed. He knows what's going on. So how can I get better? I mean, that's his advice from Drake. You know, he didn't give the answer, but I would imagine that the answer Drake would have given him, continue to attach yourself to up-and-coming artists that already got some hot shit going on.
Not even that. This is the writer. This is the writer once again who's being paid to attach more credibility to the artist that really doesn't relate back to the musical output. Keep saying, "Well, Drake told me to do this, and it's going to make me better." That's trying to give him more credibility as an artist again.
Well, he wouldn't reveal exactly what Drake told him.
Right.
He just revealed that he asked Drake was going to make him better.
Right,
like Drake has some secret sauce. There's two things that Drake could have, I say there's no shade. Two things that Drake could have told him. Collaborate with younger artists or get ghostwriters.
But no, the whole fact that it's getting mentioned in the article is really more. Yeah. There's a point behind it. Yeah, it is. Because really Drake has no business really being a part of this article.
No, for real. It's credibility. Like you said, you're attaching yourself. They're attaching him to two of the biggest artists. I mean, I would say of this era, this generation holds super high. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. And two artists that have had a back and forth. So algorithmically, that brings eyeballs to this article anyway. Mm-hmm. We are in the digital era. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Oh, this is the part where, because I know that Rolling Stone got on Nas for being misogynist. This is the part where Jack Harlow is, I guess his sex appeal is in play here too, where he turned a lesbian girl straight.
Right.
So it said, as Harlow himself points out later, the current scene in the penthouse is highly reminiscent of yet another one of his songs, Already Best Friends, especially the last verse, where he sketches out flirtatious conversations with two young women. Right now, two 20-something-year-old women are in fact hanging with Harlow in his penthouse living room. One, Tiara, who is a waitress at a strip club, who describes herself with a laugh as a 26-year-old legend, once appearing in a video by local hero Bryson Tiller. And she pops up in several Harlow videos as well. The other, Sierra, is a manager at a car rental chain with a collection of tattoos she conceals from her coworkers, including brand new ones on her thighs and early today. Okay, where are we at? Harlow himself has 0 tattoos. I'm an evolutionary person, so doing something permanently imitates me. And I like the thought of being an actor and having no limitations on that. Acting is already like in his sights.
He's not even on his rap career anymore.
Yeah, he's already going to the acting shit. Like, look, we're not getting no tattoos. I ain't got to do what these other rappers do.
Right. See, he knows that he's privileged and he's feeding all the privilege. Like, so I think, well, you're probably going to get to it where he talks about turning down all these features, but he's accepting the little Nas X feature. It's like, come on.
I seen that, man. I seen that. I was going to say, it kind of reminds me of Lil Dicky. He's kind of like, I think Lil Dicky was another one that they tested out and see how far it could go with the little goofy shit. But this is more of a, we're gonna push a Lil Dicky with a quote unquote sex appeal.
He's 24.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, where are we at? Okay. This is where it's at. Mostly Harlow hangs back and encourages his friends to talk. Blah, blah, blah. Where are we at? Then again, a lot of the conversations end up being about Harlow himself, and he doesn't mind. To everyone's vast amusement, Sierra reveals that Harlow played a major role in helping her redefine her sexuality. That's gonna be that's gonna be the cover line. Jack low key changed my sexuality. Harlow says they first met when Harlow shot his shot at her right on the street during a drunken night at Louisville's bar a few years back when she identified as lesbian. He's so cute, Sierra told Tiara at the time. He looked like the girl that I date. Now she dates men exclusively. I completely retired from being lesbian, she says. For the record, she emphasizes that Harlow can't take all the credit. So this man is such a heartthrob, he's turning gay women straight.
And how convenient is it that she's around when he's being interviewed by Rolling Stone for this rollout in this article? How convenient is it? Like, you get what I'm saying? Like when I'm reading this article, it's probably on so many levels. It's so many levels to it. So how can we? So let me get this right. Rolling Stone's coming into town.
Right.
And it so happens that in your penthouse when Rolling Stone is coming in, that a lesbian who you turn straight is there.
Yeah.
And another beautiful woman who works at a strip club and that has been in music videos is also there as well. And literally they are trying to flaunt you as a sex symbol on the cover and keep talking about how beautiful you are pretty much throughout the course of the article.
This is rolling. So the credibility of a magazine that's been around since the 60s is writing shit like this.
You see how trash this is? Like, and I feel bad for him because, you know, this is how the white privilege plays in his favor for him to win, but why he's never going to get the credibility that he's talking about that he wants. And that's why I feel bad for him. Well, guess what? You don't get that credibility doing this white privilege interview with this white privilege organization with these white privilege standards and these white privilege ways in a black sphere.
Well, it's definitely going to help in the pop world, but yeah, it's not really going to help too much in hip hop. And the fact that she said that he looked like a woman that she dated or something, I was like, I don't know where she's going with that, but
problematic.
I guess they're trying to get him catered to all audiences, all lives matter.
I guess he's going Prince on them already, androgynous.
Okay. I promise, guys, I'm almost done with this, but I think we need to break stuff like this down. Okay, here's the part you were talking about. Since then, Harlow, who didn't even wash his face for most of his life, has had such a remarkable glow up. I'm a late bloomer. I didn't peak in high school. I'm still out here getting cuter. He said that. He rapped about his his highest profile moment so far last year on the guest verse with Lil Nas X, Industry Baby. Harlow, by the way, had been hesitant to accept guest feature slots on pop songs. He says, "You won't believe what I've turned down because this pocket we've got right now is so fragile, man. I've turned down so much shit that would have been such a big bag, but he's enough. But he's enough of Lil Nas X fan that he signed on without hesitation." Only to find that Nas' handlers wanted to cut Harlow's verse in half in order to shorten the song for the algorithm. He had taken the case directly to Nas himself, Nas X that is. "I don't want no 8-bar novelty hip-hop feature on this," Harlow recalls telling him, "Fuck the algorithm." Yo, Harlow bossed up on Lil Nas X. The visual I get from that description, he walks up in the office like, "No, I'm talking to the man himself." Kicks down the door. "Y'all not gonna cut my verse."
Right. So now, they are trying to see. Now he's been feminized by the woman, and so now, as a writer, now you have to give him his masculinity back. Yeah. This is part of it.
That's and what he did it for the love of hip hop.
Right.
And the love of bars.
Right. Like he talking like he got a track from Alchemist and Gibbs, like or something like no, I want to be like no. It's a Lil Nas X record. You see what I'm saying? How they played this whole thing? It is
like no. I need my extra 8 bars.
Right.
I don't even know what he said on the record. You know
This
what I
Lil
mean?
Nas X record is gonna speak to the streets and to the core of hip hop.
Okay. Harlow quits. He quit drinking last year. Okay. Let me go to another page because I know people will probably get restless with this whole thing, but there is a part that I do want to get to that rounds this whole thing out. His beard is devilishly perfect. Each of his earlobes is studded with chunky diamonds. Yo, this writer has a thing for Jack Harlow. He sorted out his hair situation, though he's always been scared of going bald like his dad. And even before the world seen his new muscles, I'm not reading all this shit. Let me get
So,
to
trying to say it's problematic. The whole article, the whole thing.
No,
I don't
no,
want
no.
to. Can I highlight a couple things?
Go ahead.
They say in this article, who the fuck is the white boy? They say in this article, so you're white. Like they keep highlighting his whiteness in this article. And then they try to, and this is what I mean about, they try to hit you with that slight credibility push before he starts talking about how 8 Mile made him rap.
Yeah.
My mom played Tribe in PE.
I was going to get to that. Yeah, let me get to that part real quick.
Go ahead.
Because that part I found offensive, but whatever.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Okay. Harlow got an early start, both in his long life. On both of his long life interests. When he was a kid growing up in rural Shelbyville, about 30 miles east of Louisville, on a patch of land with 2 horses, Buster and Mojo, he asked his parents for Barbie dolls. Oh my God. Their first thought was like, is he gay? Says Harlow, whose family moved to Louisville when he was in 3rd grade. Then I started undressing the Barbie dolls. He's not gay. Come on, guys. All right. It took slightly longer for Harlow to latch on to rap. His mom played Public Enemy and A Tribe Called Quest around the house. Get the fuck out of here, man. Get the fuck out of here. What are we doing here, man?
So I have family from Ohio, and so I crossed through Kentucky. My dad is from Youngstown, Ohio. My dad's side family is from Youngstown, and I at times have had family in other places in Ohio as well. So I've been through, this area, this neck of the woods that he is from. Ain't nobody playing no damn Tribe Called Quest in Public Enemy up there where he's from. Get me.
And I know plenty of white people listen to Public Enemy and A Tribe Called Quest. I just thought that those 2 names were very convenient.
It's too convenient.
It's too convenient.
Shelbyville?
But his dad sang at their wedding, and he was more of a classic rock and country guy. So you got both elements here. But in Jack's elementary school days, he was his little brother, Clay. They were more interested in superheroes, Star Wars, and Harry Potter. I wake up in the morning and dress up, blah, blah, blah. I want to get to that last part of this section, though, where he is talking about the Macklemore. And no, I want to get to this real quick, too, right before I get to the last one. I want to talk about that Tory Lanez. So he had that situation where his DJ got caught up in something, and they asked him about that, and he was able to kind of do a no comment type of pivot and all that. But here it is. The most serious incident that Harlow's career involved is his former DJ, Ronnie Locino, a.k.a. Ronnie O'Bannon, who was accused of killing a woman at a nightclub last May. O'Bannon's lawyer has said it was self-defense. With the criminal charges in the lawsuit pending, Harlow can't say much about that one. He said, I was down for weeks off of that. He says, it's definitely one of the darker things that I've ever faced. Tory Lanez and DaBaby both appeared on 2020's What's Poppin' remix before each faced deeply tarnished reputations. Lanez has been charged with shooting Megan Thee Stallion, and DaBaby unleashed homophobic remarks. Harlow faced pressure to remove them from the song, which never made sense to him, especially since the incident happened after they recorded with him. He said, I know I'm a good person. He says, after a very long pause, my character, my integrity are very important to me. And I think I've done such a good job of that now, I'm being forced to answer for other people's actions. It doesn't feel right as a grown man to speak for other grown men all the time. One thing for sure is that Megan got shot, and I wish her nothing but love and respect.
That's his way of saying is I can't afford to be a white boy in the spectrum and alienate any black people. Therefore,
I'm with everybody. I'm not taking them off the song.
Take this Obama answer.
And, I know Megan got shot. I'm not saying she didn't get shot. And I wish her nothing but respect and love. Everybody's happy.
They'll take this Obama answer.
That was super political. Super. Okay, last paragraph, and we're going to get on to something else, man. This was the part that I thought was wild. So Harlow is too aware of one of the cringiest moments in rap history. Whoa. Macklemore's moment with Kendrick's one of the cringiest moments in hip-hop history? Okay. One of the cringiest moments in rap history. When Macklemore not only apologized to Kendrick Lamar in 2014 for positively deranged decision by Recording Academy to give him Best Rap Album. That's disrespectful. They said that the Recording Academy at the Grammys was deranged to give Macklemore Rap Album of the Year. Now, come on, man. What about all those times that Eminem won Rap Album of the Year? Anyway, deranged decision to give the Best Rap Album to Thrift Shop instead of Good Kid, Mad City. But also posted his text to Lamar online. I vividly remember that moment, and I vividly remember the reaction. Harlow says, yeah, that's hip-hop history right there. I don't have any criticism of it. Of course you don't. Because you never know how someone felt in a certain moment. And what's scary about the internet is you make an impulsive decision and they live on forever. For his part, Harlow is comfortable with gunning for the best in his generation slot. But does he have the right to do so as a white man in a black genre? This is the question I've asked myself, he says. But at the end of the day, people could ask, is it right for a white person to rap? But see, I have an innate passion for rapping. So they don't ask me that question. There's a competitive side of this, and honoring the competition makes it even more real in hip-hop instead of me saying it. He affects a wimpy voice. Hey, I shouldn't have won that. He returns to the Macklemore moment. That's why they didn't like the text, because it's even more, I'm not as hip-hop as you. As you know what I'm saying. Harlow smiles. I'm saying I love this shit so much that I'm going to go out on the court and play as hard as you're playing, he says. And we're not going to discuss if it's okay. Let's play ball. It's past 1 a.m. In a few minutes. Sierra and Tierra will rejoin him. The movie rolls on. I'm here to play ball. Unapologetic.
It was boring, too.
Yeah. It was, and I apologize for that, guys. I know that was boring the shit out of you guys. But I think that's interesting, though, when we talk about the fact that he wonders if, he's trying to play that card like, can white people rap? Of course white people can rap. I think what we're speaking to is just, like you said earlier, the advantages that you're getting over other MCs just off the jump.
Yes.
And, it's easier for you to go out there and be the face of hip-hop for the next 10 years if that's what you want. You got a lot of help to help you accomplish that, i.e. Rolling Stone.
Yeah, that's the thing about it. That's what I'm saying. It's like, well, if you're trying to be the face of hip-hop, you're in the wrong place talking to the wrong people.
Well, there it is. But who's going to talk to him about these things?
I'm sure he'll hear this.
But I'm just saying, who's going to write up? Well, let's just keep it real. Let's just keep it all the way real.
He's got black friends. Somebody's going to get this to him.
No, what I'm saying is XXL, Complex, Rolling Stone, whoever you want to invoke, Hip Hop DX, even though they do a good job, these aren't outlets that are owned by people who are of the culture like that. They hire on people who are of the culture. So,
Right.
with that being said, at any given moment, he can go to any of these outlets and express these same sentiments and is going to get the platform to speak because it's owned by people who want you to win.
But for what he wants to win at, well, he's going to have to let the music do the talking.
That's where
And
we're
that,
at right now.
that has not happened yet. So.
And that's where we're at right now. And when he drops the album in 2 weeks, because he's dropping in between Future and Kendrick. And I know people want us to talk about GQ having Future on the cover, best rapper alive.
Free dance.
Yeah, huh?
Free dance.
Listen, man, I'll be real quick about that. I don't really have a problem with that title when it comes to Future. Do I think that bar for bar, Future is gonna out rap everybody in the world? No, no. But do I think that for all that he's accomplished and all he's contributed to hip hop and the hip hop sphere, and let's just keep it real, everything that he's contributed to Drake in the past 5 to 10 years, and that's somebody that people want to say is the best rapper of the generation, whatever, on a mainstream level. Yeah, why not? His contributions are one of a kind.
He's had a very special career and was one of those people that you really didn't see coming. And even when he came, didn't think he was going to have the kind of career that he's ended up having. Do I agree with the greatest rapper alive or whatever it is? No, but I get what they're trying to say about his contributions that need to go recognized.
At the end of the day, it's earned shit.
You be rocking the way too sexy on Future. Come on.
I mean, look. Like I told you offline, would anybody have a problem if Drake was on the cover of GQ and it said best rapper alive?
Not at all.
Because when we sit here and look at the most successful stuff that Drake's done in recent time and stuff that actually connected, Future's involved. Future's own Life is Good. Future's on Way Too Sexy. Future and Thug on D4L. These are the records that Drake needed. Drake ain't got no hits by himself like that. And we're about to see what Future's about to drop this Friday. And somebody asked earlier, are we going to talk about it Friday? Of course we are.
I didn't love his last album, so I'm hoping for a more concise project.
I think that he's coming with some rap shit now. I mean, because he really hasn't done a rollout like this in a minute. He usually just drops.
Does it feel like he's rapping again?
Yeah.
Well, whatever he went
or whatever he does.
Whatever it is that he did to get here, I feel like he's about to probably do again because he's actually low key he hasn't been having like a Lil Wayne type of resurgent run, but he's been having a nice little. He's been coming through lately. Yeah, Future been coming through.
You know what?
Love that.
Since we're talking about Rolling Stone, I would be remiss to not bring up this Nas article.
Yes.
Because Rolling Stone's review for King's Disease 1, I thought was way out of pocket. But it happened before Coop and I had our show to actually talk about it and break it down. You want to get into that real quick?
Yeah.
This is fun. Okay. So, Rolling Stone's article by Danny Swartz. Nas King's Disease gets derailed by petty misogyny. Gave it 2.5 stars out of 5. The Queensbridge icon, legendary storytelling chops are undercut by his increasingly bad politics on his first album in 8 years, which was incorrect, but whatever. Let me get to the first sentences, and we can kind of break this down a little bit. They start like they normally do. They said, on his 1994 coming-of-age masterpiece, Illmatic, Nas rendered the sprawling Queensbridge housings and the thrills and despairs of young black life in the Dinkins era of New York City. With the detail and scales of the Bosch Garden of earthly delights, he never comes close to making another Illmatic, but he's still mining the album's rich source material 26 years later. Damn. Read that again. He's never coming close to making another Illmatic, but he's still mining the album's rich source material 26 years later. Wow. The high points of King's Disease, Nas's first full-length album since 2012, are the songs when he revisited his formative experiences in the late 80s and his early mid-90s. Snapshots of those teenage years still come to him easily, and his lucid storytelling unspooned in a quarter verse um, vintage. The opening lines of Blue Benz recall the iconic opening scene of Belly. I used to be at the tunnel, 20 deep in the huddle, razors on us, and make your skin bubble. Moet we guzzle. Chris Lighty let me in a few times with nines. On Car 85, the car service preferred by hustlers in Nas's generation, inspires a summertime cruise down memory lane. And it comes with some more lines, blah, blah, blah. This one's a lot shorter. Okay. Nas's Black Pride and Righteous Anger, which animates much of King's Disease, resonates that most of his draw the line between his presence and pre-fame past. By touching the infamous 1994 crime bill and casting young black... Where's the misogyny? That's where I'm... You know what I'm saying?
It's like, yeah, like these articles that they be writing, like we don't even really need to be giving them more airtime by even reading them, because it's a bunch of garbage. Like,
this is garbage.
Garbage. It's been like,
yeah, it's garbage.
All this stuff you've been reading, it's like, and I hope people are listening to it. It's all garbage.
But you know what? I think it's important, man, to see what's actually out there and see what they're out here spreading.
No. I dig it. It's really bad journalism. They're a really bad, like, journalistic organization, especially when it comes to the hip hop community. And there's evidence of it everywhere.
So nowhere here am I seeing why this is a 2.5 out of 5.
Right. They're not even talking about the music. I told you, they don't even talk about the music when they reviewed the album, really.
Yeah, whenever they talk about Nas, they don't even talk about the music. I mean, even with the Pusha T, I was reading the Pusha T article on Pitchfork. They talked about the music. But when it comes to Nas, it's all these other narratives, and then they'll pull out some quotes and throw it in there, and then keep going.
Illmatic.
Let's see. King's Disease sometimes doubles on advanced comma. OG Wisdom. No, this is a bunch of... It's nothing.
It's trash. It's trash, right?
This is where the misogyny comes in at. Okay. All right. So, hold on. Spending much of King's Disease dolling out name checks to men of all stripes, billionaires, record execs, dance hall pioneers, basketball players, Beatles, his boxing coach, his boys. He spends an equal amount of time wishing women would stay in their place. He takes a cheap shot at Doja Cat, a woman he may or may not know. I don't think he took a cheap shot at Doja Cat. Doja Cat was making anti-black sentiments on an alt-right page, and he said, ultra-black, not Doja Cat. What's a cheap shot there? It's what happened. It's accountability is what it is. A woman that he may or may not know. His indignation rises to a fever pitch of the defamation when he arrives on the topic of Gayle King, the TV journalist who brought up Kobe Bryant's rape allegations on the day of his death. Replace Me and all bad generic reflections of failed romances appear as a calculated addition to the track list designed to show that he's had a normal relationship in light of allegations of domestic abuse by his ex-wife, Khalees, aired against him in 2018. What? This is the publication that put Jack Harlow on the cover of their publication and said he has his eye on the throne. They gave Jack Harlow, they rolled out the red carpet treatment for Jack Harlow when it came to his upcoming effort. His quote-unquote misogyny is not a problem.
Yeah.
He's turning gay women straight.
It's perfectly okay.
Wow.
I mean, This is how the white privilege works. Look at how Jack Harlow just got treated. Like literally,
By
this
the
is how
same
white
publication. This ain't
this
two
is
different
how,
publications.
this is how white privilege works. You can be a mid-level rapper, and your whiteness can immediately take you places in other spheres that somebody who we literally come on here and say is the greatest MC of all time has never been treated with the respect that Jack Harlow has been treated with. There's something grossly wrong about that, and you can't tell me that there's not racism attached to it, because where there's white privilege, there's racism too.
They call Jack Harlow a poet in their article. Never once have they ever referred to Nas as a poet in any of this. Honestly, reading this, and if I read this and didn't hear King's Disease, I would think Nas is a has-been trying to, revitalize something from 26 years ago at that time.
They're the worst.
And they go on with this too, where they say Nas has vehemently denied Khaleesi's allegations, as well as those made by his ex Carmen Bryant, who wrote in their relationship in 2006. The next thing I knew, I was being hit in the face with a closed fist. The impact of the blow was so fierce. They went and pulled out quotes from Carmen's book. So fierce that I saw stars. On King's Disease, he doubles down on those denials and advances a bizarre sense of male victimhood. Less than a minute into the album, he goes off on cancel culture and takes aim at Khalees, whom he believes fabricates his stories of their stories of abuse out of spite. Until the War Was Won, a performance in tribute of black women, he disavows coward men that were beating on you, and then muting as a side, never me. How are they even pulling these things together?
It's bad. It's bad writing.
It's bad, Rolling Stone.
Like, it's bad everything. I told you it's trash. Like, I've read the review plenty of times. Yeah, it's not any good. It's not any good.
It's very bad. And they ended off, at its best, King's Disease is a slick, Illmatic redux and fresh portrait of Nas's non-mythical hustle years that expands his Queensbridge universe with the new characters and, this is bullshit. At its worst, it's a misguided attempt to paper over abuse allegations and stark showcase of his increasingly questionable politics when it comes to women. 26 years after Illmatic, Nas still has room to grow. Who are you to tell Nas he has room to grow? Wow. But yeah, those are the stark contrasts between a Jack Harlow feature on Rolling Stone and a Nas album review on Rolling Stone. Any words, Coop?
I don't have any. I really don't.
I'll tell you what, man. We're definitely gonna listen for Jack Harlow's album, and we're gonna talk about it and be as neutral as possible as we are with everything else. So,
I mean, he's going to get a fair shake as far as a review, but like I keep highlighting, it's like when you're reading this stuff out, it's like, well, the problem isn't usually the person being placed into the machine. The problem is the machine.
That's never been my issue with Eminem. And I'm glad you say it in that way. Like, whenever I speak about Eminem, I'm not talking about him as an individual. I'm talking about the system that propels him to a level that he didn't earn. Now, has he done numbers? Yes. But are we going to really sit here and say that we're going to put Eminem's catalog next to a Jay-Z, a Nas, even what Wayne was doing, even what, you know what I'm saying? Like, and say that it's comparable. Like, did he have songs that locked down a whole summer? Or are we just going to say it's different?
No.
Are we going to make different rules? He made what he made.
No, and I think that we've addressed all of those things. I think sometimes because and this is what I mean about the hall pass that Eminem was given. Eminem didn't get a hall pass into Rolling Stone. You know what I'm saying? There are black people and black organizations and entities that co-sign these people,
Of course,
along the way when this is happening. And so the auditing process about this is really what I'm speaking to, not even necessarily the artist. I remember Jack Harlow's last album. He's got some talent. He's not ever going to be the face of this.
No, he does not have that kind of talent. No.
Because he's not even Eminem level talent, and Eminem was never the face of this. And I'm just going to be honest with you. Well, a white person is never going to be the face of hip hop, no matter how hard white people try to make that happen. It will never happen. It's a culture that doesn't belong to you. And so it's just hard for me to respect an organization like Rolling Stone that literally treats this 24-year-old white rapper with the type of grandiose luxury and rollout that should be given to somebody of Nas's stature right now, given the run that he is on once again. And so it's just more troubling that these things are still happening in 2022. You know, I don't have anything new to add really, Mike, because we kind of know what's going on at this point. I think the best thing that we can do is just really try to audit it a little bit better and speak to it in a manner so that even people like Jack Harlow understand, well, this isn't really about you.
No, exactly. And you know, I know somebody in the chat was saying that we don't need to give Jack any more of our time. It's not about that. We do have to acknowledge these things though, because again, we've tried to ignore, you know, when you go out there and ignore something, then boom, next thing you know, they're the king of hip hop. And that's what happened to Eminem. And let's be perfectly honest. When in the early 2000s, late 90s, we kind of brushed Eminem off as this jokey rapper or whatever. He wear like, you know, dress up as Tom Green and be on TRL. Some years lapse. Next thing you know, he's the greatest rapper of all time. No, that was never the discussion when he was out.
Well, this is what I'm saying is that what that person said is actually right. And that's why I've been making my words like a little shorter about this too, is that, well, we need to stop talking about them so much too. That's what I mean is like, well, we just need to start auditing this process and then kind of letting it roll off, because we have spent a large amount of this show talking about a Jack Harlow who really doesn't deserve the notoriety and the amount of time he's being given on this platform if we're staying true to what it is that we're doing. And that goes into the Eminem portion of it as well. I told you, it's like, for me, I don't want to talk about it because it really, I want to shine a light, but I also don't want to give people attention that have got too much undeserved attention in this culture already, when we could be shining a light on other people with that time. And so I just want us to do our part about addressing the issue, but not giving him too much airtime unless it's concerning the greatness of his album or his career, because that's really how you should get up on here. Unfortunately, we have to get up here and audit circumstances like this because, just to be frank, there's a lot of fuckery going on.
Because nobody else is going to do it. Let's just keep it real. No one else is going to have these conversations about hip-hop.
But you want to know what, Mike? And I'm just going to say this. It's like I would have preferred if we just would have spent about 15, 20 minutes talking about him and then let it ride, because he doesn't deserve more than 15, 20 minutes of our time. He doesn't. You know what I'm saying?
Let's move on then.
Yeah.
You listened to the Billy Woods?
I did.
What were your thoughts? I know you said you had mad notes.
I did. Hold on, and I want to say something. Part of why I want to move on is because I don't want to get upset about this again. And it's starting to piss me. No, it is. Like in reading the Nas article, like it really, really upsets me on a level. And not about like Nas, like this is where the racist tone of it starts happening, Mike. Yeah. You know? Where it's like, look at how they talk about Nas and try to drag this black man through the mud, but they literally try to talk about this white kid's manicured nails. Like they literally are dragging the black man through the mud and talking about the white man's manicured nails. Next.
The hip-hop legend. The hip-hop legend. We're not even talking about somebody who just, you know, jumped out here and is dropping their first or second album either. this is possibly the greatest hip hop artist of all time. Like you said, he's on an amazing run right now, and at the time, it was just King's Disease 1, but that's still Nas. So,
Right.
Billy
The Bill,
Woods.
yeah, you know what? The Billy Woods album, Mike, for me, is exactly why I had a problem with Pharrell's whole Pusha T mixtape rapper sentiment.
Mm-hmm.
This is what underground mixtape hip hop sounds like. Not
This
Pusha
is
T.
where we're at.
This is where we're
This
at.
is see that you know what? That's one of the things that comment that Pharrell made about Pusha being a mixtape rapper wasn't directed just at Pusha. That's kind of directed to the whole landscape that we're at right now. Is he talking
Right.
about Freddie Gibbs? Is he talking about Westside? Is he talking about Conway?
Right.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like that's where we're at right now, Pharrell. Believe it or not.
Whether you like it or not, too, whether it fits aesthetically what you do or not, that is where we are.
That's
right.
where we're at.
And so when I hear an album like this that started off slow, Mike, but definitely picked up steam and has some stuff on here, I'm like, no, this is what the underground sound like. This is what a mixtape sound like. Like Pusha T ain't never made an album like this because he's really hasn't been. Mike, they came out with Grinding 20 years ago. He's never been an underground rapper. That was a big crossover success. Even though it was about selling weight, still big success.
Right.
He's been in the sphere. He may not be like a Jay or Nas level star, but he's been in the sphere, and he's not an underground mixtape rapper. He just happens to make excellent mixtapes and do underground stuff well. None of his albums feel underground the way this album feels underground.
Let's go back to one of the greats. Is Magic a mixtape album? An underground album? That's where we're at right now. And honestly, when you look at what Jadakiss is doing, even when Pusha is at his best, they're going into the underground. Wayne is out here on an independent AZ album. Rick Ross is on an AZ album. Ain't no wrong with that.
Ross been on everybody's stuff since the pandemic happened, man.
Straight
Ross
up.
been on everybody's stuff, straight up and down. Ross is like the major label record industry is not about to keep me from shining. I'm the boss. I will jump in with anybody and get busy. Right. He's everywhere. This album for me was a solid 4. This is one half of the Haram, Arm & Hammer. And so my immediate thought was, well, this is definitely not Haram level. A lot of that is because Alchemist isn't doing the production. Right. Even though the beats on here are solid, I feel like his abstract musings, he parses his thoughts together very abstractly, and he'll veer off and go somewhere really, really quick and hard on you. And the beginning of the album, I feel like starts off slow because of his style, but it progressively starts getting better and rounds itself into a very nice project. The Doldrums, Heavy Water, featuring ELP, Harlem, Versailles, Photo Evangelium, which made me want to say Spodioti Dopalicious after I said it right. Mm-hmm. Those are all dope records, Mike. I don't know if I'm saying his name right, Despot or Despo on Versailles. Mm-hmm. His verse is a verse of the year contender on Versailles, and so is Billy's second verse on Proto Evangelium. So there's some stuff on here. It's definitely for the underground today. And when I mean underground, I even mean more underground than what you would consider Griselda's doing right now, because that's kind of what Haram was for me. And this album, actually listening to him solo again and going back and listening to Haram again today, I would probably put Haram further up higher on last year's list. But this is still a solid project from him. And he's a good representation of what the current underground scene really looks like, not Pusha T.
For real. I mean, and then you look at somebody like Boldy James. You got people like Kevin Durant speaking the praises of Stove God. Like, that's where we're at right now. Like, ain't no mainstream rappers. You know what? The mainstream rappers are the one that's on the radio all the time, and that's not where hip-hop is right now. I think that we're talking about the core hip-hop albums, and we've been covering a lot of this stuff like week to week since 2020. And I guess that's a good time to plug the yearbook. Y'all can go check out the yearbooks on Amazon. We also got digital copy, blah blah blah. But that's where the people on the radio are doing something different than what the people that are dropping on a streaming level are
Well,
doing. Like what
well,
Griselda and these guys are doing, what Bodie's doing, what Freddie's doing. Like this is and Alchemist. I think Alchemist is a real big proponent
very,
here too.
very key to this movement. He
He's
might be.
very key to this movement. He might be one of the most important pieces.
No, he might be the most important piece to this movement because his production is becoming the sound of this hip hop era right now.
I don't think
Specifically,
there is even an underground anymore. Does that
well,
make sense?
well, here's what I would tell you is that the mainstream isn't as wide as it used to be.
Yeah.
Because, and here's what I mean. Have you heard any real talk about Gunna's album the way that you should? Or Corday's album the way that you should?
No. And there was a
Lil Durk.
lot put into Corday's album. I think Corday is a really good example. There was
Or
a
Lil Durk.
lot put into Corday's
Or Lil
album.
Durk, like, are we really hearing about these albums and how they're trending? Like, I know they playing Gunna in Atlanta. I know I'm over right to the east side. They're gonna be playing 24K Jacket. Like, I know that, but this is Atlanta. That's the east side. You feel
Right.
what I'm saying? That's home. That's gonna happen. He's shouting that McAfee on there. We playing that down here. I'm saying in the larger scope of things, how are these mainstream artists really doing in this climate? Because I don't hear their names ringing bells this year, really. And it is kind of like everyone back outside season. Like the underground supposedly has kind of risen up and has been running it the last couple of years. But the mainstream artists are outside. And what you're really finding is that, well, things have changed.
They have. And a lot of the mainstream artists are having to work with these quote unquote mixtape rappers or underground rappers.
Right.
And they're running the show. Like you said, Alchemist is a big proponent and probably one of the biggest key pieces. He's doing these side projects with artists like that. I think the one that really cracked it open, man, it might have been Alfredo.
I mean, that was the first classic album that dropped during this pandemic. So you might be right. Alfredo, we might look back, and I know you and I think that Pray for Paris is a better album than Alfredo, and not by much. But when we look back, especially for what hip-hop has morphed itself into in this climate and this culture right now, we may look back at Alfredo kind of the way that we kind of look at Enter the Wu-Tang or like the Infamous. It's like they really bought that street shit back with that right there, and it really started a run of street shit that didn't stop for a while. And we may end up looking at Alfredo that way because it was the first classic album that got dropped during this pandemic. It was.
Well, speaking of the Infamous, man, the Infamous just celebrated an anniversary as well. 27 years?
Mm-hmm.
All right, man. What's your favorite song from the Infamous? I guess Shook One's Part 2 is...
No, I was never a Shook One's part. Okay, so can I tell you about something about
Go
Shook
ahead.
One's? Oftentimes, because of the strength of the first verse, I'm cool with the song after Prodigy's verse is over and I hear the hook sometime. No disrespect to Havoc.
You don't like Havoc's verse on there?
I like Havoc's verse on there. It's just Prodigy's verse is so epic sometimes. And it's the end of the album. Usually, Shook One's is track 15 on there. So it's like, no, sometimes I'm cool, like right there. I will tell you that, and I always go by this. I don't go by the songs that are the greatest songs. I go by the songs that really I played the most since the album has come out, realistically. And that would be I For an I or Give Up the Goods.
Give Up the Goods was one I was gonna go to straight up.
Sleeper, a sleeper song on there that I'm a big fan of, personal favorite. Temperatures Rising is a personal favorite of mine. And so
I
is
love
41st
Temperatures Rising.
41st Side and Temperatures Rising were personal favorites, but probably I For an I Give Up the Goods. I mean, who the hell can call on Nas and Ray like that and have them deliver like that on your record?
I For an I is a classic. Shout out to 007 with the super chat. It says, do you think music was better when labels controlled the game? Today, anyone can drop at any time. You get lazy product more times than not. When labels had control, you had more time to pay attention, digest music, and artists tried harder. I don't know, man. I think there's two sides to that. I think that I think that even when we talk about the creation of Napster and downloading MP3s, that was because there was a quality control issue with the albums that came out. I think we spoke about this in a previous show where Blockbuster Music and Sam Goody and all them used to have those little stands where you could go in there and listen to the albums ahead of time because people were dropping so much trash and folks were trying to, man, I've tried to return a couple of CDs. For real, man. Like that Rough Riders 2 compilation, that shit was awful. But I think that you do have this. This is what the major labels did bring to the game. Artists were gonna drop an album when they were actually ready to drop an album. Whereas now, you can record some stuff and throw it out. And so we get to see artists' development right before our eyes in ways where that was taken care of ahead of time. I think quality control, though, I think we're at a similar rate, if not better, because we're getting more music. What do you think, Coop?
I don't think we've gotten seminal projects the way that we used to. There was a time in hip hop, pretty much, I'd say there was probably a time from about 85 to 2000 where each one of those years, not just one classic album, but you could go and find 2, 3, 4, sometimes 5, 6, 7 classic albums every year from about 85 to 2000. So I think that era in hip hop was more top heavy. You have some really special years. Like 94 is a top heavy year. It's not an overall great year. It's a top heavy year. Yeah. 96 is now what we really have going on is that we have more years like 1996 in terms of depth without that top-notch level output of those all-time great albums of 1996. Like these rap years look more like 96 with the depth. Like 96 was extremely deep. It just doesn't have a reasonable doubt. It was written, the score, but then again, it's like, well, in 2020, we got Pray for Paris and Alfredo. So, that's what I mean is like, we're not having those years where we're getting 3, 4, 5 seminal projects with a deep year like a 96, but we're getting a lot of 96 like deep years. Like these last couple of years we've been doing it. It's like, no, like it was tough putting last year's list together and who I was sliding out of our top 20 list. I can show you some rap years in the 90s where it's like, you're not going to get the 20 dope ass projects.
What I think what makes it feel different is because back then, back in let's just say 96, the songs actually, they stretched longer. Like the singles actually, it was like 3 singles a year, right? The songs would stretch albums out. Whereas now, you put a single out, it's gone after a couple of weeks. Like Diet Coke. Diet Coke came out, maybe like a month or so ago? It's gone. Same thing with Neck and Wrist. Now, if this would have happened in the 90s where radio was able to dictate when you heard a song, because you only had 2 options there, right? Either hear this, 3 options. See this and hear this on TV, hear this through your CD player or whatever, or hear this on the radio, right? Or in the club, whatever. But now people can just hear anything whenever they want to on demand, and songs go away a lot quicker now. You were able to actually have more impactful records in that day as far as individual singles, if that makes any sense. Now the full projects are the full projects, but you're not going to get songs that are like California Love and stuff like that now because songs come and go too quick, if that makes any sense.
I don't like the fact that nobody is attempting to make those level of classic songs that is going to stay with you just about culture or the fast-moving pace of the culture per se. That's not really an excuse to not attempt to make those records.
I just don't think that they're able to have those kind of legs because of the ability for everybody to listen to anything whenever they want to. And radio doesn't matter. That's one thing that radio did help. Radio helped dictate the pace when it came to individual songs. There is no pace anymore.
No, and I will give you that, but okay, so let's go back to the run that Nas and Hit Boy are on right quick, and why I like how they're doing things. I told you, Mike, it's kind of reshaping and reshifting everything because they're even setting a new template that I was looking at. It's like, well, Miss Mo jumped in our comments and pointed out very astutely, well, you know, the video to Ugly drops on the anniversary of Illmatic, and he starts rolling out the merch and like all this stuff on the anniversary of Illmatic. It's a good time to hit you. But when you're a legend like Nas, well, he's dropped classic albums in almost every quarter of this sphere, so you're probably going to get the next video or maybe a KD3 plug, because Mike, the anniversary that it was written is right around the corner. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
Like different ways that you can play this game now to get a buzz. You can even go off the nostalgia of your own legend by releasing your new stuff around the time your old stuff is getting celebrated today, i.e. Illmatic, it was written.
I think that's a great idea, and I think that's what a lot of people are doing because, you know, you got sites like ours and, you know, many others that actually shine a light on when these anniversaries come up.
Like Jay dropping an album, I told you 97 Ho. This 25th anniversary of 97 Ho.
I think Jay-Z's probably going to drop like a...
in the fall.
I don't think he's going to drop anything new. I think he's either going to do a concert for Volume 1 or he's going to do like a commemorative, you know, vinyl release or something like that.
With him performing the songs because he never does any of those songs.
Right. Kind of like a B-side thing. But back to the infamous stuff. So you're going to say Eye for an Eye is your favorite or Temperatures Rising?
It's Eye for an Eye just because, like, it's rare. What Raekwon did something kind of special at the end of that song because he knew lyrically he wasn't Nas. That's 95 Nas. That's Verbal Intercourse Nas. That's Fast Life Nas. That's dude right off Illmatic Nas. Like, ain't nobody lyrically rap with that guy. So Ray inflection and vocally wise took over the track. Like he upped the energy a level and made the intensity of it so hard to match what he couldn't match lyrically with Nas.
You were going out for a second. We hadn't forgotten the super chats. I do want to get to some of that. You there?
Go ahead.
My bad. I do want to get to some of the super chats. Jay Shore says Rolling Stone did Public Enemy dirty in '94. Mad Max says, LOL, I don't know why y'all hype up Ross. He's been exposed. Kid not that good with his Biggie gimmick. You know, Ross has always been one of those guys that people...
He's polarizing.
Yeah, they either love or love to hate Ross.
I used to be on the other side. I used to not be a big fan after the first couple albums, but I remember, like, I think it's the Maybach with Kanye and Wayne on it.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh no, his verse is just as good as theirs. I need to start listening to him more. And yeah.
I mean, when you really hear that Ross has elevated is when you listen to the first Maybach music with him and Jay. He's not that good. You listen to him like 2 or 3 albums after that. He worked on it. You know what? He might be one of the most improved MCs of all time.
Him, Jeezy, Fat Joe. Yep.
You think Jeezy's improved?
Oh, the rapper that Jeezy was on 101 and the guy that showed up on The Recession in 103, that's a different guy. Yeah.
I'm going more so the Game.
I always thought Game was dope.
Really? I thought when I listened to the documentary, Game sounded like he was reading off of a page.
I mean, he's way better than he used to be. I always thought that he was dope enough from the jump. I don't know if I always felt that way about Ross or Jeezy or even Fat Joe early on. That's why I referenced those guys. It's like, oh, I liked them. I just wasn't sure how dope they were. I always thought.
You think Fat Joe got better?
Yeah. Oh God, the dude that's on Don Cartagena. Yeah, the dude that's on Don Cartagena from there on was succinctly better from the dude that made like Jealous Ones, Envy, and like all that. Yeah.
Okay, I like Don Cartagena. It's actually my favorite Fat Joe project.
That's the Fat Joe. That's when Fat Joe.
That's the improved Fat Joe.
That's the improved Fat Joe. Yeah, Don Cartagena's the improved Fat Joe.
But see, I never thought like Flo Joe was bad. You know,
it was bad. It's just not. That's not the same guy. The guy that's rapping on Crack Attack is not the same guy.
Crack Attack is hard.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, you know what? I'm gonna go with the Q-Tip produce. Give up the goods.
No, that's cool. No. Go. They're right after each other, just with the Noid interlude in between. I love the beginning of that album.
Noid killed that shit.
Yeah, Noid kills a lot of shit, man.
He does.
And that album is as good as I mean, Mike, you're not gonna find too many rap albums that have like so many classic street anthems on the first half. Like it literally goes survival of the fittest, eye for an eye, give up the goods. Those are 3 street instant classics. I don't know any album has a run of 3 songs where every one of those songs is like literally a street classic. Like literally.
Is the Infamous more important than Southern Playalistic?
It bought East Coast, no, because of Illmatic. If Illmatic doesn't drop, then yeah. But I mean, they didn't. What did they bring back? You know what I'm saying? Like Nas kind of bought the bridge back the year before. Illmatic's better than the Infamous. You know, like where did it? I mean, I know it really influenced like East Coast gangster rap, like in the long run. But also Ray and Ghost were right there with that on the Purple Tape in '95 too. And the Purple Tape is actually more influential long term than the Infamous. So it's really, it sucks to say, the Infamous really suffers from like its contemporaries and the dudes they were closest to, Ray and Ghost and Nas, because it suffers from being grouped between Illmatic and the Purple Tape.
I think that, man, Shook One's Part 2 is special. And it's one of the best hip hop songs of all time. It's probably one of the most recognizable beats from that hip hop era. It encapsulates something, you know what I'm saying? Like it's a symbol of that East Coast hardcore shit like that.
Yeah.
It's hard to really, put a label on it, but you know what it is. And I think that a lot of that, not a lot of that, but at least for Mobb Deep, that sound starts with the Infamous.
It does, but I think a lot of their legend is shrouded in not just what they did with the Infamous, but what they did successfully. Like, it's not just the Infamous that had the impact. It was the fact that they did the Infamous Hell on Earth and Murder Music. You know what I mean? Exactly. The Infamous is clearly the best album. A lot of people, I'll tell you this, Prodigy.
A lot of people in here are saying that the Infamous is better than Illmatic. Jay Short says, are you sure that Illmatic is better than the Infamous?
Yes. Next question. Like, it's not even, we're talking about a top 5 rap album versus a top 10 to 15 rap album. So I get what you're saying, but no. Like, the Infamous, that's why I bring up those street classics. It's like, no. It's got stuff on there, but if you really want to start parsing it out, it's like, is Survival of the Fittest better than New York State of Mind? No. Is Eye for an Eye better than The World Is Yours? No. Is Give Up the Goods better than Life's a Bitch? No. Don't play those games with Illmatic and start losing all those great records. You feel me? Because only one going to win is Shook One's Part 2.
Shook One's Part 2 could take out a lot.
No, Part 2 has something. Resident Street Classics is losing. I didn't even Memory Lane or One Love on y'all. Come on. Let's be real. One Love is taking Temperatures Rising out. You feel me?
Yeah. It ain't hard to tell.
Look, Memory Lane's taking Drink Away the Pain out.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, Illmatic's better than them.
Yeah, Illmatic's tough, man.
Yeah, that's simple arithmetic. Sorry.
But from an impact standpoint, you still got Illmatic over the Infamous?
Yeah. But the Infamous is super important. But like I said, part of their legend is shrouded in what they did with all 3 albums. Because it's like when they came back with Hell on Earth, it was like, oh no, they're here to do this. Like they're all-time great at it. Like they got stamped and solidified when they came out with Hell on Earth, because Hell on Earth was almost as good as the Infamous. It just doesn't have the classic street songs. Like it doesn't have the street classics that's the level to an Eye for an Eye or Give Up the Goods or Shook Ones or Survival of the Fittest. But the street shit that's on there, this classic is still classic. Hell on Earth, G.O.D. Part 3, Nighttime Vultures, Still Shining. Like, no, there's stuff on there. So it's more about the total encompassing of what they did with that 3-album run after Juvenile Hell, not just the Infamous.
But a lot of people even like Hell on Earth more than the Infamous.
Production, I mean, this is one of those things, there's Hell on Earth and It Was Written are very comparable in the fact that it's like, well, technically put together better, the rhymes are better, but doesn't have the same feel, you know?
Right.
Because Prodigy's actually a better MC. And Havoc is definitely a better MC. And Havoc, in the Hell on Earth is Havoc's production without Q-Tip's help. So that's more of the Mobb Deep sound that gets identified right there. And so that's what I mean. This is like It Was Written like in the sense that it's like if you feel like it's better, there are components to it that are valid that make you feel that way. Yeah.
Well, I love it, man. I think that's everything that we had to cover today, right?
Yeah. I think
Yeah,
more or less. Yeah.
yeah. I think Friday, man, we're just looking for that new future. And I'm sure we're going to talk about more of the ratings because we got to get back on these ratings so we can get this MC rating stuff solidified. I think
Right.
Friday we can do a lot more of that and and yeah, and critique that future. I mean, I know it's for me personally, it's very difficult to critique Future's efforts from a rapper standpoint because there are things that are going to be that we're going to be looking at that aren't going to really be about the bars. And for me,
Right.
the rhymes come first for me.
Right. So here's what I don't want to happen. You remember Thug's album last year?
Yeah,
Well, we really couldn't rate Thug's album, could we? Because we were like, well, there ain't no really enough rapping really going on here by Thug to rate it as a rapper's project. And so I'm hoping that doesn't happen with Future. Because you
right.
and me were talking about Thug's project. It's like, well, all the rapping's getting done by the guest rappers. We can't rate an album based on what the guest rappers are rapping about, can we? Like, well,
Exactly.
no, we can't do that. And so we didn't end up rating the album. And so I want some material from it. It's funny that we're in a climate where I'm saying this is like, well, I want this rapper to rap for this album so we can review it.
Yeah, man. Either that or we could do one of these mock verses that we do. I think that another MC that we need to add to the rating list is Guru.
I got Guru down.
You got Guru down? Cool.
Yeah.
Well, see, man, again, what you said about the whole Thug and Future thing, that's exactly why I really hope that. Now, you know what? If Kendrick is out here singing, we're going to talk about that.
Ooh, I do have like a hip hop head moment for you. So we talk, one of the standout performances on Tana Talk 4 is Busta Brick Nick, right?
Right.
So here's why you gotta love Griselda. These guys are connected in how they talk and how they put their city on. Now, when it comes to New York City and their famous boroughs and their famous hustlers, we kind of know their names, and a lot of reasons we know their names is through street lore and through the rappers. These guys do the same thing. They big up their street legends. You just gotta catch them. Guess who's talking about Busta Brick Nick? Jose Canseco, West Side Gun. I'm from the streets of Busta Brick Nick. Right, that's on Jose Canseco. What's the name of the song where Benny's spazzing on Tana Talk 4? Busta Brick Nick, that street legend shit. You see, they're speaking their slang and still putting their culture and their hood and their city on. So West Side's letting you know on Jose Canseco that Busta Brick Nick is a street legend in Buffalo to them. And Benny is giving more reference to it with the record, but you got to follow these guys and what they're doing and sometimes go back and catch the pattern.
There you go. Jose Canseco is hard.
Stove. That's Stove's coming out party. That's the Stove coming out party.
You know, Westside rolled the red carpet out for a lot of people.
Definitely. He said me and Emerald Degrassi should do the next verses to
Yeah, I remember that.
That I work on.
I remember that. I'm going to go listen to that shit now, man.
To a church's chicken.
Yo.
Take the braids out, let my hang hair like that's the perfect shit.
Yo, Stove went crazy. And see, that was the thing, man, because Westside was like, yo, I think my man Stove dropped some dope projects this year. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put out this project to showcase him.
I mean,
man, Westside's the Chris Paul out here, man.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. It was that verse that made us go like, okay, we need to listen to Reasonable Drought. Like, who is? Because that was borderline verse of the year for me when I heard it. You know?
Hold on. I see people talking about Premier and Guru and stuff in the chat. Are they dropping something on Friday or something? Is there something that we missing? I'm going to go do some recon on, you know what I'm saying, some of the efforts that are coming out because we might be missing an effort.
Yeah,
and we also need to go back and rate some of the albums of this year. And do you think it's too soon? I know we're about to approach May. You think it's too soon to start lining up potential top 10 albums of the year so far?
No, I mean, we have enough to go off even what we've rated right now to do a top 10. It's funny that you say that. I was putting Pusha T's rating in next to everybody else's so I can remember because we're still missing some. But Oh, real quick, you know what we do need to do? We still didn't rate the Crit, Wiz, and DZA album. What would you give that?
You know, I like it a lot.
I was giving
I'm
it
going 4-5 possibly.
4 or 5. So you like it more than the Pusha T album?
I do like it more than the Pusha T album, to be perfectly honest. Now I think Pusha T probably did a better rap performance, but as far as liking the songs and then the degree of difficulty with all these interesting pairings, I like that album better.
You and me, we're gonna have to kind of maybe go back and forth behind the scenes a little bit because I was thinking that album was more of a 4 to 4.25 for me.
Okay. I think 4.25 I can do.
I'm cool with that.
I kind of was hesitant to say 4 or 5, but I think that the execution was so good. Now, it lacks, the substance is somewhat there, but it's a fun album. It's cool.
Let's see how it holds up too. I think the 4.25 is pretty fair because I felt like it was more consistent beginning to end than the Pusha T album in terms of how production-wise it was put together, and it was a fun album to listen to.
Yeah.
But I don't think the highlights of it are better than the highlights of what Pusha did. That's why it's like the same round.
And again, I know people think I'm criticizing the rollout of Pusha's album, but I think doing it in a traditional way, like Radio Mattered or something, kind of really it convoluted my thought process when it came to listening to the album. You know what I mean? Like having those 3 songs ahead of time really was not beneficial.
No, I understand.
And that's why I hope that Kendrick doesn't drop any singles.
No, because to be honest with you, I'm already over Diet Coke because I actually did like the record.
Yeah, and I feel like if I heard Diet Coke the first time I heard the album, I'd probably still be playing it right now.
No, I feel that way too. I'm not going to say that Neck and Wrist is overrated. It's just not better than some of the other stuff that's right before it. Like literally the 3 songs that are before it are better than it.
We need to talk the Fife album. Let's put that on the notes.
That's what needs to be down.
Yeah.
We just did Billy Woods. Well, I would give this Billy Woods probably a 3.75 to a 4. What would you think?
I'm gonna go listen again.
Listen again and get back to me. Tell me what you think.
Okay, cool. We can do that. And do you want to do something like and I know we got to do some top 5s anyway. Right. Do you want to do like one of those things Friday? Maybe like top 5 storytelling songs or something.
We're gonna have like one of our fun shows. Okay, yeah. Where we kind of like pull something out the hat. I don't know. Did you want to pull from like some of our top 5s that we're about to do, or you want to come with something funky or fresh? You know what I'm saying?
We might just do something funky and fresh. Just whatever. Well, or we could. You know what? We possibly could pull from some of the ones that we're gonna do and get people's input and kind of cultivate the list or something.
To celebrate, personally, talking about my 2 favorite duos of all time, in Outkast and Mobb Deep. No disrespect to the Clips, but maybe we show them a little love and maybe rank the 5 best songs on the Infamous and Southern Playalistic, respectively, since their anniversaries are being celebrated this week. Maybe that's appropriate.
Okay, I think we could do something like that.
Let's dig deeper into the best 5 songs from these all-time great albums. Because for me, the Infamous and Southern Playalistic are kind of like 10 to 20 rap albums all the time in terms of like quality of music. Like the only reason, like the Infamous for me is the first great rap album that doesn't have seismic impact on the game. As in all the other rap albums that I have before the Infamous are seismic in their impact. Yeah. Illmatic, yeah. Purple Tape, Aquemini, Doggy Style, Enter the Wu-Tang. It Takes a Nation of Millions. You get what I'm saying?
I'll say this. I think Aquemini is the better album, but I think that the Infamous has a bigger impact.
It has a bigger impact. It's just not as well put together.
No. It's not.
It's just not. But you know what? A lot of people love the Infamous, and I feel them. And maybe it's a Southern bias or maybe it's an East Coast bias, but a lot of people argue that they feel like that the Infamous is better than Aquemini. And there's some... Like Infamous
It's
is a
a
brilliant.
feeling, man. It's a feeling.
That's what I mean. It's a feeling. You have to understand special moments that are never going to happen again. And that's what I'm saying. The Infamous is special, but part of what's special was their run because it's like, well, they did do the Infamous again on Hell on Earth and on
Yeah.
Murder Music and did it extremely well.
Somebody says the 8 best street storytelling songs. I guess from Cool G Rap. That'd be dope.
Oh, Cool G Rap's best storytelling songs?
Do you got Cool G Rap as a top 10 storyteller, right?
It's been a minute since I've done a storytelling list, but he's very graphic and cinematic with it. It's where Nas gets some of his storytelling from too, like on that side. Like G Rap talks like very visceral and very like detailed. He's a good street orator, yeah.
What about Pac when it comes to his storytelling? Where is he?
It's so funny with him and his stories because his stories oftentimes rift into the reflective, the introspective, and the plight of Black people as a whole. Not as concise a storyteller sometimes, you know? Like you give him a subject matter about something specific that he wants to talk about, well, he'll tell a story about it, but it's like, do you think Dear Mama's a story?
Yes.
Okay. That's the thing about him. If you're classifying Dear Mama as a story, then yes, he's an all-time great storyteller. But if not, then no. You get what I'm saying? Because that's how he tells stories.
I think we would have to consider it a story.
Okay, so when I was young, me and my mama had beef, 17 years old, kicked out on the street. Now, back at the time, never thought I'd see it. Ain't a woman alive that could spend it for school, scared to go home. Yeah, like if that's a story to you, then yes. Then he would be there.
Yeah, because it's not like it's I don't think a story has to always be I walked outside, picked up the trash, walked down the street,
Right. Oh, that's why I'm asking you.
Yeah.
Like how would you define? Hold on, sorry, you can't see me, can
you? You paused for a second. Okay, you good now.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. The dang camera just went out.
Okay.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, cool. You back.
Yeah, but I mean, but that's the thing with that. So we can put them up there. But even with
those guys, Ice Cube storytelling game is hard too.
Yes, no, Ice Cube is somebody I would have higher probably than Tupac. And yeah, I'd have Tupac. No, I'd have Cube higher than both of those guys. Mm-hmm. Like, because for me, after you go through Nas, Big, Scarface, Ghostface, and Slick Rick, Cube would probably be the guy for me right after that.
Yeah, he's up there.
Right after that, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of want to, we know what our 5 is like. I kind of want to explore 6 through 10.
We can. That's a more fascinating conversation because I think 1 through 5 is pretty solid. And if somebody has Ice Cube in their top 5 and one of those guys out, I would understand that as well.
Because the 5 that I have, just to be clear for everybody out there, I got Scarface, Ghostface, Nas, Slick Rick, Biggie.
Yep.
Am I missing anything?
No. That's my same 5. I think our order is different because I think my order is like I got Nas, Scarface, Big, Ghost.
You got Big as a better storyteller than Ghost?
He is. His stories are more memorable, even though I don't know if he's a more vivid, detailed storyteller. So Ghost is a better storyteller. The Biggie storytelling songs are better. That would be my way of explaining.
Okay.
The Biggie storytelling songs are better. Ghost is the better storyteller.
Okay.
But I love Shaky Dog off Fish Scale. That's one of my favorite Ghost stories, where they pull the robbery.
Mm-hmm.
Dog is masterful. That's what I'm talking about. It's like I don't know if Biggie can write stuff where it's like, push the fucking seat up. Talking about he got tartar sauce on his S-Dot kicks while he's about to go do the jukes. It's like that's that little detail stuff that Ghost does.
It's crazy.
Like, that's crazy.
Because what Ghost does is he mixes the personality, the inflection, and he has the detail.
No, that's why I like Shaky Dog so much, Mike, because it's real. When he's talking to his man, he said, "You look paranoid. That's why I can't jukes with you." When he's talking like that, like that's real. When you about to pull something like that, your heart's racing, your blood's pumping. You got the pistol in your hand. You like Ghost is looking at his man, hypervent. Like nigga, you acting paranoid. We about to rob this motherfucker. I can't have you doing this while we doing that. Like, but he's literally expressing that to you in storytelling form. It's beautiful.
It's crazy, man. You know, somebody said something about 5 mics. It's amazing, man, to think that nobody in Wu-Tang ever got 5 mics.
It's an embarrassment.
It's crazy, man. Did they even? I think they went back and did that for 36 Chambers. But when you talk about what Wu-Tang put out there, I think you got 36. I think Only Built for Cuban Links should have got 5. I think that Liquid Sword should have got 5. And I think that Supreme Clientele should have got 5.
Yes.
Those 4.
Yes, those 4. And so when you do that, you give Dirty 4.5. You give Iron Man 4.5.
Yeah.
And that makes the Takao 4 look like the real 4 that it was.
Mm-hmm.
Right, because they gave Takao 4 mics. No, it's a 4-mic album. It's just everything else getting made around it was 4.5, 5 mic stuff.
Because again, Life After Death got 5, right? I know that you got Only Built for Cuban Links over Life After Death.
I did.
But is there any way, shape, or form to justify Life After Death getting a higher score than Only Built for Cuban Links?
No, there's not.
I don't think so either. Because even if you want to talk about the singles, you got Incarcerated Scarfaces and Ice Cream.
And Glaciers of Ice and Criminology.
Listen.
Stop that.
All those songs, in my opinion, are better than the singles from Life After Death.
They are, and they're hip-hop classics.
Yeah.
Every last one of those songs is a hip-hop classic we just named.
Yeah.
Those are hip-hop classics. Puff is dancing the Glaciers of Ice. It's like cultural lexicon now. Puff is dancing the Glaciers of Ice 20 years later.
You know that I think they got like some home video with Biggs riding around with Lil C's and all them after he got in that car accident and he's on the cane or whatever. They were listening to Glaciers of Ice.
Glaciers of Ice is crazy, Mike.
It's actually my personal favorite song on Only Built for Cuban Links.
Okay, so this is what I'm saying, Mike. Like, the Purple Tape is one of those few rap albums, Mike, where damn near every song is a classic song. Damn the classic status of it. Almost every song by itself is a classic. Yeah. There are very few rap albums like that. Like, that's what I'm saying. So this is what I talk about when I talk about Kendrick and how the songs stand alone. Go start separating the stuff on Cuban Link and see how the song stands by itself.
We didn't even mention Verbal Intercourse.
That's what I'm saying. Spot Rushers.
Wu Gambinos.
Rainy Days. Knuckleheads. Knowledge God. Ice Water.
Jeez.
Jesus.
Ice Water was crazy. That was my favorite song in there for a minute.
Ice Water was my favorite song for a minute too. I love that beat, Mike. I love that beat, the Ice Water. Oh, that's my favorite Ghost verse. Check out the rap Kingpin, the Black Jesus. I know a few niggas sniff coke, it cause seizures.
I love when Ghost redid that verse on the Good Times beat. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Yo, that Good Times sample was sick.
Yeah.
That should have been on an album.
So this is what I mean. So the difference between the Infamous and the Purple Tape is that the Infamous has about 6 or 7 songs. The Purple Tape is like that for like 16 songs. Like the 6 or 7 songs on the Infamous that are like operating at that level, the entirety of the Purple Tape operates at that level.
What's rare about the Purple Tape is the fact that everybody brought their A game. Everybody. I can't think of an album that wasn't a group album per se, that everybody brought their A game in that way. Akumanai's like that too, but not to this level.
Do you remember the way that the Spurs played the year after LeBron had beat them and Ray Allen shot the year after?
Yeah.
That's how they're rapping on the Purple Tape. It's like, no, everybody's like in a zone and just like whooping ass at everybody getting level, and it doesn't even matter who else is on the other side.
We're legit getting everybody's best verses. And I think the only thing that I can't even say that because we got Ice Cream on there, but I was gonna say the only featured verse that trumps that is when Meth was on Shadowboxing on Liquid Swords.
Okay, but here's
But
the
you
thing
could trade that off of Ice Cream's hook.
Well, see, this is what I tell people. Meth is so important to Purple Tape and the Liquid Swords. Is like, oh no, what he did on Ice Cream and Wu Gambino's, and Lifting the World Today and Shadowboxing. Those 4 records on these 2 albums, over the top. He's the icing on the cake on both of those albums. Those albums are classic without him. They're all-time great because of his performances on them. Specifically,
hit the body like sawed off shoddy. Like my head naughty, get my nose piece snotty. Fucking that hottie, that old pussy probably. Bird like the deserts of my copy, for real.
Ain't nothing fraudulent here. We pioneers. New frontier. This be a woo, yeah. 36 chambers of fear, huh? You lost it.
Information leaking out your faucet.
Time to forfeit your crown.
And leave the grounds. It's a new sheriff in town holding it down. Yeah. Shout out to Rick and Raw with the super chat. He said, what up, homies? Yo, Glaciers was special. And Heaven and Hell was B-side. You knew instantly something was incredible when that album was coming. Yeah. I remember seeing Incarcerated Scarfaces and being mesmerized, like, yo, these niggas is those niggas, man.
And I'll tell you what, too, Mike, and I've always told you this, I only have Aquemini ahead of the Purple Tape about the diversity that it offers you, mostly in the form of Spody Odie Dopalicious.
And Liberation and stuff.
Right, no, specifically those 2 records. But here's what I'm going to tell you. I may end up having to switch that because musically, Aquemini, do you think it's holding up better than the Purple Tape?
I don't. And you know me. I love Aquemini. I've written articles on articles and articles about Aquemini's greatness and pound for pound, 74 minutes of just straight flawlessness. But Purple Tape, that shit different, man.
And so what I would tell you is that I've had Aquemini at number 2 for a very long time, but about the way that the Purple Tape and Doggy Style are holding up, Mike, about the way they're holding up.
I'll tell you this, and I know you're an Illmatic guy.
You're not holding up like that.
No. I'll tell you this. I'm probably, on most days, going to play Doggy Style or Only Built for Cuban Links before I'll play Illmatic. Now, Illmatic holds up incredibly well. But I ain't saying it doesn't hold up as well as those. But those albums are more fun to listen to.
No, I'll tell you the truth, Mike. As an adult, I've listened to the Purple Tape and Doggy Style more than I've listened to Illmatic. I still think Illmatic is the best rap album ever. But Illmatic is a whole mood and a vibe, too. It's like, I got to have an Illmatic day. Sometimes I just want to hear that rap shit on the Purple Tape. But sometimes I just want to hear Nas's verse on Verbal Intercourse off the Purple Tape.
Yeah. I mean, because I personally like the Incarcerated Scarfaces beat, Ice Cream's beat, Glaciers of Ice beat better than any beat on Illmatic.
No, Mike, I randomly like to play the shiznit, and Murder was the case.
Yeah.
Like I just be having days where it's like, no, let me hear the shiznit.
You know, I really hate that Doggy Style's not on streaming platforms anymore. I guess I got to go get a CD player again.
I don't have those issues, Mike.
I want to play it in the ride, though. You know what I'm saying? I guess I got to go just download it and pay for it or whatever.
I think the 2016 makers of Infinity for leaving the CD player in the car, Mike.
Nigga, I ain't got no CD player in my car. I need to figure something out.
I was like, is this a modern car with a CD player? I was like, I don't know if I like this, but give it here just in case. We're here, and we're here. So
just, it's looking like, just in case we go off the grid.
Hey, look here. There's plenty of dog food and Chronic and Doggy Style and All Eyes on Me over here. Come on in the ride. Come on in the ride. It's been a gangster party, man. It's been a gangster party in the whip. Taking CDs in and out.
Speaking of which, man, and I'll talk about this and we'll get up out of here, man. I was listening to just random songs from the West Coast from like 99, 2000. You remember that like resurgence that the West Coast had when, you know, after Bitch Please, and man, those dudes was coming with some of the best material. They had 2 incredible runs, that beginning of Death Row run, and then that 99, 2000 run. And Exhibit was spitting, man.
You're the one that really opened my eyes to the fact of how important Bitch Please was to like just the whole West coming back in full force, because you've contextualized it very well. That is the record that like kind of set them off on their second run. That's the record. Like
It's
you
the
can go
record.
back and pick the point where it happened. It's like that's where it happened again for them.
It's the record that brought Dre back. It made Exhibit a star. It brought Nate Dogg back into the fold. And Snoop's just the glue anyway. You know what I mean?
No, it's a jam.
And
No,
then after that, the momentum of that song, everything just started going. Boom, boom.
So, and I say
Exhibit's underrated too, by the way.
He is. So I say this respectfully because I don't want it to come off as hate. This is what I'm talking about Kendrick's catalog. Kendrick don't have no bitch please. That's like Snoop's like 7th or 8th biggest hit.
Right. Because as soon as that beat drops, you're going to see Snoop out there sea walking.
Right. Mike, I'm in my chair right now and I can't stop moving because the beat playing in my head. Because boom, 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 boom. Yeah. Like you hear it and it's a rap. Snoop got records like that for days. And so that's why I've just started to taper some of the Kendrick conversation and just start to look at things objectively. You open yourself up to critique when you take time off like this.
Yeah.
You open yourself up to it. He's open to it. Now show me where he got bitch please. Because the closest thing he got to bitch please is bitch don't kill my vibe.
It ain't that. I'm sorry.
And it's not that.
It ain't that at all. And like you said, this is like Snoop's 7th or 8th best song or something.
I mean, is Bitch Please better than Drop It Like It's Hot? First of all, it's not better than any of the singles on Doggy Style. It's not better than any of the singles.
I personally think Bitch Please is better than Drop It Like It's Hot.
You think it's better than Beautiful?
I like it better than Beautiful, but if somebody said Beautiful was better, I wouldn't be mad at that.
I think Beautiful is better than Bitch
It's a dope song. I remember when Beautiful came out, I couldn't stop listening to it.
Me neither. It's a beautiful song. That's one of my favorite Neptunes. Is that just Pharrell or is that Neptunes? That's one of my favorite Neptunes. Right, right. It's one of my favorite Neptunes beats. Yeah. Oh, so if you go take the stuff that's on the Chronic and Doggy Style and then take like Beautiful and like a couple up, you know? No. Bitch Please be a top 10 Snoop hit.
I mean, because even when he did his verses, DMX, like I don't even remember when he played Bitch Please, but hey, whenever he did play,
he doesn't need to. He doesn't need to.
Snoop would beat anybody in the verses, except for Dr. Dre.
Catch those hands.
But you know what?
Catch those hands.
You know what? That's what we should have got. A Snoop and Dr. Dre verses would have been awesome.
No. Well, it would have been for me because I would have got to see them perform 187 live.
Yeah.
Deep cover.
Yeah, I mean, because Snoop has a catalog outside of Dre. And I think, and Dre obviously has a catalog outside of Snoop. I think that Dre would lean more towards some of the records that he did with other people. He might play 1 or 2 Snoop records. But that would be fun to see who's going to play what first, where the other person can't play the other thing.
Dre can play some of that DLC stuff that's still dope, like the Formula and Funky Enough.
Yeah, right. Man. That DLC album is fucking incredible.
That DLC album's one of... Did that get 5 mics?
No. It's, it's one of the most underrated... We talk about DLC being the biggest what if in hip-hop and all of that stuff. That album is one of the most underrated hip-hop albums of all time.
It's classic.
Yeah.
You want to know what... You want to know what's funny about that era? The classics from that era didn't really get what they deserved for some reason. That little gap, you could put People's Instinctive in that gap too.
Talking about like 90, 91?
Yeah.
It was a transition going on.
Wanted Dead or Alive by Cool G Rap would fall in that same sphere. It's like those classics from that. We might need to just do a show where we're revisiting like that day and talk what the album by Redman. This is all that time period where it's like the classic stuff that got made didn't get coined as classic as maybe it should because things were changing.
I would say 89 to 92 is probably the range you're talking about, right?
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, because 88 was so heavy and 93 was so heavy. Now, 92 was all about the Chronic, but again, that was December of 92.
That was late.
Yeah.
Right.
So that was damn near days before 93.
I remember Dre Day started playing in the summertime. It felt like though. Dre Day. Yeah, no. Memory serves. But here's what I'll tell you too.
Man, I hate that you're mentioning these songs that I can't listen to right now. Like I used to be able to go on Apple Music and just put on the Chronic and just put on These Nuts or something.
Oh, that's very problematic, Mike. I'm about to hop in my car and do that. The minute car's right there on the other side of the garage. On the other side of the hop in the whip, slide the chronic in. 1992, Mike. I'm gonna tell you something. The beats on "Don't Sweat the Technique" a little too happy, Mike. They're a little too happy compared to the previous work on the previous 3 albums.
Yeah.
A little too happy. The production is actually what hurt "Don't Sweat the Technique." He's there. He's the god still.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Production's a little too happy on there. It's not that good.
Yeah. He needed summertime, allegedly.
It's definitely not let the rhythm hit him, follow the leader, paid in full, production level wise.
Yeah. All right, well, we're going to get up out of here, man. We're going to talk to y'all on Friday. And yes, go get that 2021 yearbook, and the 2020 yearbook is available on Amazon now. We also have the digital version on Gumroad. We'll put all the links into the description. And yes, we're going to holler at y'all. Appreciate y'all tuning in with us.